To the top of your screen. Sanders gets rid of it quickly, picked off, threw it right to Tejada.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
White, no traffic into the end zone. Opening statement drive by Georgia. Right down the field to draw first blood.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
They fake the jet sweep. Warren keeps it. Touchdown, Oklahoma State.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Prescott over the middle, wide open. Jarwin walking in for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, just after 3 o'clock. Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership, as does Jack McKenzie on this. We're starting to hit the guts of the college football season. Some really, really good matchups, including the one regionally between Texas and Oklahoma, and then, of course, nationally, Iowa and Penn State, Auburn and Georgia. And we got to get into that. We're going to take a lot of calls today. We have guests that will check in with Penn State and also Texas today. Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics. Craig's off the radar. Paul's top five, the hateful five. Trying to get a sponsor that's let's get Halloween to sponsor your top five.
Like the actual holiday? Look, here's the thing. If Halloween found a way to make me money, I would back off of it. I'm not that principled. But since Halloween has never made me money, and it doesn't make, I guess it does make some people money, but it's never going to make me money, then it can go suck an egg. So,
well, and maybe an eggs. Maybe the have you ever had one of the eggs on the counter at a convenience store? One of those just sits there.
Yes,
you have.
I think I told you the story. I don't know why I'm telling it on the air. I was going up to Dallas for a Cowboys thing one time, and I stopped because I was eating all protein at the time, and I hadn't had anything, and I grabbed the boiled eggs, and it said today. I had the date. Was today. And I realized after I ate those eggs that anybody can put a sticker on anything.
God, I can't believe.
There's no integrity in stickers.
I would never, ever eat one of those. Okay, Craig Smoak, let me ask you this. How much interest would you have if, in fact, when the new Big 12 is formed, we know that there's going to be at least 12 teams, and the possibility there might be 14 or 16 teams. We've been through that. But would it matter to you, or if you are a fan of TCU, Baylor, Houston, Texas Tech, and SMU, if in fact they do have Chapter 2, and if they're a part of it, would you have any interest at all in some sort of a trophy that's given out each year to whoever has the best record among those 5 teams? Would that matter to you?
Would it matter? No. It doesn't change my life either way if they do it or they don't do it. Would I find it to be a neat idea, I guess? Sure. Yeah, I think that would be something that all Texas teams would be interested in wanting to bring back to their own trophy cases. You've got a handful of teams that are going to be from Texas in this new league. So, I think that would be unique. And rather than if A&M or Texas were involved, obviously that would probably raise the stakes a little bit as far as the bragging rights go. But I think it almost makes it perhaps even a little more interesting that they're not, and that you would have a TCU, potentially a SMU, but a Houston, Baylor, et cetera. I think that'd be kind of cool. At the same time, though, I think the Silver Boots really jumped the shark with the Rangers and the Astros. I think that's a toy that no one really cares about. Astros fans probably do the last couple of years, but that was a novelty that I think kind of wore off pretty quickly. So if you can find a way to do it and make it worthwhile every year, I think that'd be neat.
I think it also, if you're the Big 12 and you have it, and again, I'm just throwing this out there, if you did that, it would kind of say, okay, we're going to do some things on our own. We're going to do some things on our own. And this is between the 4 or possibly, again, the 5 of us. They have the Commander-in-Chief Trophy, which is an amazing one, Air Force, Army, and, of course, the Naval Academy, and that goes back and forth. And it's a string of – the Astros have run the streak against the Rangers, but there was a time when the Rangers ran that streak as well. From Owen, did there used to be a trophy for that? No, not that I know of. I know that Texas and Oklahoma have that big, huge trophy that the hat. No, it's the gold hat, right? Yeah. That they put on. But as far as a trophy among the college teams, I don't remember one. I'm just throwing that out there as a possible. The battle for the Bluebonnet Trophy is what JD mentioned on the chat room just now.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of different options you could go. I mean, obviously, silver boots already taken, but I think it's a potentially interesting idea, and I'm sure that, like I said a second ago, all the teams involved would want to, fight and be that team. I mean, just imagine what that would be like on recruiting visits if you're battling TCU or Houston for the same player, and you have a player on campus, and you're Baylor, for example, and Dave Aranda shows like, hey, we're the best team in Texas in the Big 12 or whatever. There would always, of course, be A&M and UT on the outside going, well, like, no, you don't play us or whatever. I'm sure that will occur, but you know what? They're all going to play each other probably every single year. We don't know what the divisions are going to look like and all of that, but if they're all playing each other, then yeah, I think it's, again, an interesting idea.
By the way, from the 360 earlier this afternoon, Shala would like to call on Thursday to discuss Oklahoma, Texas. You can call us right now, 254-339-1122 if you'd like. You don't have to wait till Thursday, but from the 360, we would appreciate that. The 469, what are your thoughts about maybe going after a California team? I think the concern there is time zones. I think, you'd love to have USC or UCLA. I think you would. You'd like to have Oregon in the Pacific time zone as well. But I do think eventually the time zones, even though it's just another hour, well, it's another hour from the East Coast. Now you're looking at 3-hour differences, not just the travel. For the sports that are the alternate non-revenue sports. I don't know. You guys have a problem if they add it? They're not going to. It doesn't appear. But at the same time, would you have a problem if they added someone from California?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on who it is.
I mean, it would depend on who it is. It would also depend on how big are we getting here. Like, I don't think it's really all that interesting to have a 16, 18-team league because that's where they're on the precipice of potentially. I mean, we complain about the SEC teams not seeing each other home and away for like 7 years at a time. I mean, that would be the case in the Big 12, too. So, hey, great, you added UCF to the conference. Guess what? You don't play in Orlando for 6 years, and then they don't come to Waco for 5. So, if there was a team that was worthwhile, I think people throw out the San Diego States and some of the teams like that. I just don't know that really – based on what you've already added, I don't know that adds too much more. I think they're starting to reach the point now where you look at these remaining candidates and you go, all right, 1 or 2 more of these, and you're starting to lose money per team here. So yeah. I think you got to be mindful of that. And unless it was one of the big time schools, then yeah, I think you're pretty well off the way you are right now.
So here's something from Alan Bishop. Concern is politics about California. Right now, California has banned state travel to Texas. I don't know if that applies to college football games. Have they really?
Yeah, they did that a while ago.
I know. I know. It's been over a year and a half with this. I did not know that was still a thing. But again, I haven't paid much attention. I mean, I've lived my own life.
I don't know what the exact rules are and all that. I just remember that being enacted like a year and a half ago, like you said. It doesn't seem like it's caused too many problems, quite honestly. I haven't seen like any uproar over a Texas team not being able to go to California or anything like that. So it's not a story that I've really tracked very closely. But yeah, absolutely, California's politics, I have to say, do come into play somewhat. I mean, they have based their decisions on whether to expand or not to expand based partially on politics. And they're not politics that necessarily vibe with people in the Deep South or in the Southwest. So I can see where there's definitely a little bit of a conflict there that makes it difficult.
Yeah, California, it was all state-sponsored travel to Texas for any kind of business, so any state business. So, I think the dart on that was it wasn't going to be like, oh, hey, you're with the California Union of Tomato Growers. You can't go to the convention in San Antonio on the state dime. I don't think they care about that. I think they were trying to send a message to Texas on, well, if USC is going to play in a bowl game, we're not going to pay for them to go. And clearly, based on the way that the Texas legislature responded, they went, okay.
All right.
Okay. I didn't know that was still a thing, but again, I honestly just don't know. and we haven't traveled much, although we did go to Tampa for the Super Bowl earlier in the year. From C. Jenkins, Cal played TCU in Fort Worth this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's
again,
I have no idea about that.
And I promise you that's one of those things that they did. And then when Cal probably said, well, we've got a contracted game with TCU, are you honestly going to make us go into the kitty for this? They're like, no, they didn't seem to care when we said it, so it's probably not really a thing.
Here's from Jermaine Bell. Wasn't Stanford just in Texas for a game 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, they were. And I think some of those things where you say, like, we're not going to support travel to Texas for state, blah, 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 that's kind of almost one of those laws, like, it's not legal to eat bread on the street in Hartford, Connecticut because the law was enacted in 1802. It just kind of goes into that. Like, they said it because they wanted to look good, but they're in no way going to enforce it.
Now, I don't know this, and I'm trying to find this out, but there's a lot of chatter on the chat room. By the way, again, 254-339-1122. There's chatter. Hilda is the one that started this, that Gary Patterson, I haven't seen this, and I haven't really paid much attention, that Gary Patterson throwing major shade at Texas. Shocking. And then I'm reading kind of the timeline here from Scotty B.
I mean, it depends on what he said. I saw a comment about Bijan Robinson. That was about it.
Yeah, as Gary said, that he wouldn't use Zach Evans 30 or more times a game, unlike Texas, but he would give Evans more carries. Obviously, if you're winning the game, then you pound the rock a little bit. I don't know if that was a negative.
No, it was, because his quote was talking about how Bijan Robinson, he said, like, basically my guy is also not going to be, like, burnt out by the time he goes to the NFL. It's basically what Gary Patterson's comment was, because Bijan had 35 carries last week. Zach Evans, you can argue, did not have enough carries.
Yeah.
And he said and acknowledged, well, admittedly, it's probably something we need to look at, but it wasn't. But the reason why it got attention was because there was that little dig on Texas and Bijan Robinson where he basically said, yeah, Zach Evans should probably get more carries, but, we're not going to burn him out like Texas may do with Bijan Robinson. That was the gist of it.
Yeah, and again, I don't – but why does he just can't help himself sometimes.
Earl Campbell got more like Bijan Robinson, I don't care how many carries he gets, will not have as many in less games than Earl played, like in more games.
We just talked about this yesterday. He had never had more than like 15 carries, and even against Colorado in the bowl game, he had like 10 carries for 185 yards or whatever.
When Earl Campbell got to the Oilers, was he burnt out?
No.
Okay.
For 5 years, eventually, yes, his body took such a beating and he delivered one, but no.
When he got to the Oilers, after a while he was, but in your college years, it's also. And I respect that, don't want to burn the kid out if he's got a potential, but why don't you leave that up to the kid?
I would never do 35 carries like they did for the guy at Texas. If you want to last 4 years, Evans does need more touches, though. That's the quote we're talking about.
Yeah, that's just enough of a dig on a guy that just rammed it right down your you-know-what.
Well, here's the thing, is Bijan Robinson's not going to be at Texas for 4 years, so it doesn't really matter. And Zach Evans is probably not going to be at TCU for 4 years, so it doesn't really matter. So, Gary, you might as well get the most maximum carries that you can, because your job's not to make sure Zach Evans is free and clear and healthy, like it is to some extent, but your job's to win football games at TCU. I don't give a damn what Zach Evans does for the Saints 3 years from now, or the Chargers, or whoever. He needs to perform for TCU. So maybe rather than counting Bijan's carries, which has led to Texas victories, mind you, then you should maybe, look in the mirror a little bit, which he does acknowledge that, yeah, Zach Evans probably does need more carries, but it's typical Gary that he's got to get a slight dig, which I'm sure he's like, oh, no, it's no, if you were to question him on it, I'm sure it's like, oh, that's not what I meant. But no, that was a dig. It was a slight one, but it was a dig at Texas.
If I had, what, we just discussed this yesterday, that Tom Herman didn't run him enough. And so now you have him. My God, you use him.
Well, the thing that's dumb about it is it's the first game that's happened, really. It's not like he's doing it every single week.
Warren had 35 or 6 carries against Baylor, right?
He doesn't even have 20 carries every week.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it. I mean, he's starting to get more and more of a load on his plate, and he definitely had like a full plate this past weekend. But, I mean, Bijan Robinson's a true sophomore who didn't get a lot of burn last year. And, yeah, now he's getting used more. But that's how Texas is winning games. So that's the point of running Bijan Robinson, because you want to win the football game.
I think he only had I'm just off the top of my head, 14 carries against Rice. Against Texas Tech, he had, I think, 20 overall touches, but that game was over, when it started. So, Yeah, I mean, he's had several games this year where he's gotten to pull off the gas.
He's had 20 or more, not counting the 35 this year, one time, and that was the very first game against Lafayette. So he had 35 this past weekend, and every other week, the other 4 games, he's had 20 carries or less. And if you want to go all the way back to last year, the highest amount of carries that he had was 16. So he's far from being overused. Now, if he has 35 carries like 3 games in a row, yeah, that's problematic. You don't really want to put that much of a weight on his shoulders, but the comment's kind of dumb because that's the first time they've ever used him that much, like in 20 games or in like 12 games. So, yeah, I mean, that's Patterson for you.
If I had him, I'd run the hell out of him until his tongue came out, and then I'd put a new tongue in. From Timothy White, you guys are crazy. No Pac-12 team is joining your dumpster fire, number 5, Power 5. Why? They'll make more current structure. Timothy, let me stop for a second and listen to me. We never said anyone from the Pac-12, and haven't for a long, long time, is interested and or will join the Big 10 or 12. No one said that. What we said was if a California school was interested or if they looked at a California school, the only way you would do that is if it was USC or UCLA, and we know it's not going to be that way. And then when you added, we don't want to be associated with USF or UCF, arrogant. We already have a team in the Big 12 right now that's currently there that doesn't want to be associated with too many people. We don't need that. We don't want your arrogance. We don't care. So you didn't listen. But thanks, Timothy.
It's like dunking on the wrong goal.
Yeah.
And then
don't understand what you're talking about. They care about your Big 12's a mess today. Are you watching the Pac-12 in football, young man, old man, whoever you are in between, man? You have a terrible conference in football, and that's what matters, even though I know you win a lot of spring sports. National titles. God, don't come in here with something that you're not paying attention to us. That doesn't make sense. 254-339-1122 is the number to call.
And I don't think it's entirely out of the question that years down the road there will be a Pac-12 school or two that is looking to leave that wonderful conference that you're talking about.
The Shangri-La of college sports, right?
All 12 of them love each other so much. There's such brotherhood and
that's why when
fellowship.
You have this new commissioner, and there are some leaders in the Pac-12 right now that are having their own behind the closed door. We know more than him. We don't know him.
I like the new commissioner, and moving on from that comment, it's basically it's easy to just say whatever. I think the Big 12 was dead a few weeks ago, right? And here we are, and they're fully healthy and they have a future. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a wait and see thing. I think the Pac-12's in good graces right now. And we'll see over this, shifting landscape of college football what all these conferences look like here in the next 3-4 years.
From Tony Altamore, Gary P. wants you to talk about anything other than the fact they've now had they've laid two straight eggs. If they lose this week, he'll start another media fight with somebody.
Tony knows.
Probably Craig. Well, he blocks you. He wouldn't know what you're saying. Timothy, tickets at Kinnick Stadium. Number 3 Hawkeyes in Penn State are going for $235 a pop. Now, I don't know what the average is, and I know some places it might be. That's good. That's a pretty good chunk. Pretty good chunk of money.
Yeah.
And we're going to feature Penn State today, Iowa on Thursday with Kennington. I think we're going to have him on who covers Iowa Thursday.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game, and not surprised to hear that there's high-dollar tickets. I would imagine that's going to go up over the next few days as well. But, I mean, shoot, what a hell of a matchup coming up this weekend for sure.
All right, Paul, let's go to the BetUS caller line. Tracy in Cincinnati, thanks for your call.
Go Bearcats.
Hey, go Bearcats, guys. How you doing?
Doing great.
Well, look. I seen your topic about California teams to the Big 12. I mean, yeah, I know you guys didn't say this, but we can realistically say that probably Pac-12 California teams probably ain't going to make a move right now. But what I will say is that the same way that the Big 12 got UC, BYU, and UCF, teams that are kind of on the upswing, so to speak, I mean, you really got to consider Fresno State. They're hanging. I mean, they're not doing the most damage, but the fact that they could beat UCLA speaks to the talent, and they usually win about 7, 8, 9 games a year. They're usually both eligible. So I would say if you want to go for the California market, I'd take a real good look at Fresno State. They could be really good, could be cultivated. You got the California weather. And even, I know they don't pass the stadium right now, but San Diego State, they would add strength from basketball because usually with Steve Fisher, they have a good basketball program. So if we go California, I mean, I think you take those two, Fresno State and San Diego State, I think they really add to the conference in terms of you trying to get into certain markets.
Yeah,
thinking about comp.
Thank you very much. We featured Fresno State last week. Tough loss for them to Hawaii over the weekend. That wasn't good. They almost took Oregon down, but didn't. But if we had a school that was not a part of the higher than mighty Pac-12, that was a California school, I'm going to ask Pepperdine to start football.
Yeah.
Period.
Dibs on the road trip.
Yeah. And San Diego State would be there because of San Diego, right? But we're having fun with that. But that's,
I would think that San Diego State would probably be, based on the improvements they've made to their athletic facilities and things they've done lately, probably the one of the three we've mentioned. Of course, Pepperdine doesn't have football, but Fresno State and San Diego State would probably be the most ready to go now.
That play football at a level that is acceptable. Not that others in the Big 12 haven't had their ups and downs, but those two, that's not going to happen. Chapter 2 is not going to include them.
All right, let's go to John in Kansas. John, thanks for your call.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you.
So I really do like the potential idea of San Diego State. I know in the recent past they've been considering making a new campus down like where the old stadium was at. I think that's a great idea. However, that's just like really like reaching across the country, like all the way from Morgantown to San Diego. Like that'd be massive reach. And if you're getting San Diego State, but also like getting a school like South Florida, that just makes it even more nationally. Like think about where the Big 12 was regionally, like back in 1996, where they had 8 teams like in the central region of the country, and then they get 4 schools from Texas, and now you're getting like the whole conference, like all of its teams nationally from California all the way to Florida. That's just describes how crazy conference realignment is.
I do think that there's no question there's a national flavor. Thanks for the call. I do not feel in any way will California be a part of Chapter 2 when the Big 12 either does it or doesn't. But I love the fact that they're spread out from Utah with Brigham Young all the way to what you have with the schools in Florida, Cincinnati, Ohio, and of course as well throughout the Midwest and state of Texas.
Look, the west barrier for the new Big 12 is going to be Provo, Utah, and potentially one day Boise, Idaho. I mean, that's how far west they're going. There's not going to be a California school. As much as fun as it is to think about, I mean, at some point, like there's I follow this wrestling company, AEW, whose owner is in the Jaguars front office, and whose father is the Jaguars owner, and they're a little busy right now, not with wrestling, with their head football coach. But, they started this new wrestling company, right? And so initially they start off with this roster, and it's pretty good, but they want to keep adding stars, right? So like WWE would release some guys, and they're like, hey, let's go get that guy, let's go get that guy. But what happens ultimately when you're signing? You've only got so much TV time. You've only got, so much room. You've only got so much money to spread around. And so that's kind of what to keep in mind with the Big 12. They're kind of at max capacity with the rumored additions. You can't really go 18, 20 teams. I mean, that's just not going to do anybody any favors, and you're not going to make very much money. So, like, the last round that we talked about, the second round of Boise and, SMU. Memphis, and who else was it? USF. I think that's probably what you're looking at as far as expanding. But in terms of that expansion, you went from pretty good geographically, soaking up most of the Midwest and a good part of the South, but a lot of Midwest to, really just being kind of a Texas-based conference in many ways and just sort of outliers here and there, to now you're spread out across the country, once this thing is formalized. So I think that's going to be a great look. I think it's going to bring in a lot of new fan bases, a lot of different types of fans, different backgrounds as far as college football goes, and it's going to be a nice melting pot. I think it's going to be really – and then road trips will be a lot more interesting now as well.
Fresh is good. Sometimes we don't like change. I don't mind it. Being a military kid, moving all over the country when I was younger, I kind of liked it. But some people don't like change, but this was needed, necessary, and it appears as if they've not hit a grand slam. We won't know that, but they've given themselves a chance to stay in the game. Paul?
All right, I'm going to let Steve, our next caller, tell everybody where he is in case he doesn't want people to know. But, Steve, you're on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm actually, believe it or not, calling from Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
I lived in Texas for 14 years, but I've been working in the oil industry in Saudi for the last 8 years.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia.
I'm a Baylor grad and,
Saudi Arabia, man. We appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate you being a part of the show. What's up?
No problem. Okay. Well, first of all, I really enjoy your show. And I've only dialed in recently because of all the realignment stuff, but you got me hooked, and I'm enjoying it. So I really just have a few thoughts just to share and something and a question. With all the realignment, what it seems like to me right now is our appetite is exceeding our stomach, meaning that there's a big appetite to grow bigger, get stronger, kind of show the football world that the Big 12 is going to be better, and the new Big 12 will be better. And I get that because a lot of pain happened in July and August, right? But what's going on now is that once you get this new conference together, you have to work it, and not just working in football, which is not getting a lot of the attention, but basketball, baseball, and other sports, and the amount of travel and all that. It's just the ideas of California mixing it. I'm with you guys. I don't think that's a good mix. That's putting it into a whole nother state. But when Tony Altomore talked a few days ago about the realignment stuff, I did like his point saying you want someone out there with, UCF in Florida, so maybe USF, and then you want maybe Boise out with BYU, so they have someone in their neighborhood. They're not out there all by themselves. And that's what's hurt West Virginia University is when they joined in the Big 12, no one was really in the neighborhood. The next closest was a long, long ways away. And so you definitely want to pair some people up. And so Cincinnati is somewhat closer to West Virginia, but it's still kind of out there. Now, if it does go 16, and say you add the SMU, Memphis, and USF and Boise, 16 teams is a lot to manage. And you want this conference to kind of stick together and get close. So I just would say that I think the 12 is awesome. I think that's a great mix. I do see the strong case for 16. I see the reasons. But I would just say I hope the Big 12 finds ways to tie them together. And the point that Tony made about the Big 10 being tied together with libraries and other kind of resources was a good point. They were, kind of put some glue in there to help hold the Big 10 together. And I really think that that's something that, the Big 12 needs to look at is how do you really try to keep these people together? So those are my thoughts.
Hey, we appreciate that. First of all, where did you live in Texas before you moved? Did we lose him?
Mom and Dad was in the Air Force who were in Austin in the 70s for 3 years at Berkshire Air Base.
All right.
And then I came back and went to college in Texas starting in the fall of 89 at Texas State. Mm-hmm. And then I got a master's from Baylor, and then I got an MBA from SMU.
Okay.
So I stayed in Texas from 89 to 2000.
Hey, man, we appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I'm being clueless here. What is the time right now in Saudi Arabia? I can look on my phone. What's the time?
11:32 p.m. in Jeddah.
There we go. You need to go to sleep or you're going to lose your curfew rights.
We're essentially his Tonight Show. That's what we are.
Yeah. Seriously. And while you did that and while you called in, we had somebody else who called in on the chat room that listens to us, I think Michael from Iceland. On the chat room.
Good deal.
God, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps. Cool. We appreciate it. Hey, stay in touch with us. We hope to hear from you again, okay?
Yeah, my name is Yak. I go by Yak Attack. So when you see that comment,
you're on there. Yep. Okay, we got it. Right, thanks, Yak. Appreciate your attack. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I think you're right. They got to be cautious of just bringing in teams and then just like, all right, go play now. Like there does need to be some calculated movement as far as how it starts, how it sets up, how teams are introduced, how it works in other sports. And I think that's probably a lot of what they're trying to figure out right now. The last few weeks were about crossing T's, dotting I's, and securing teams. And I think now everybody kind of knows what the deal is and knows what to expect, at least those who have been officially invited. The Boise, SMU, UCF, USF contingent, I mean, that's not anything official. That's kind of the bubbling up that's going on behind the scenes right now. But we do know there's 4 officially being introduced. Now, there is still the issue of you don't know when Oklahoma and Texas are leaving. That would be helpful knowledge to have to know when to kind of start the ball rolling. But, yeah, I think they're probably taking care of a lot of that. And I'm with you. I think there's good argument for 16. Beyond that, I think is just insanity, and we've explained why a few times.
I think 16 is the ceiling,
and that's even kind of stretching it a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
and they got to figure out again how they go from 12 to 14. Boise, Memphis, and then of course if they add both SMU and South Florida, USF. I get USF as well.
But there are a lot better regional rivalries now. There's a lot better to choose from. I mean, I know West Virginia's still kind of out on an island a little bit, even with Cincinnati and UCF joining. But, there's a lot better geographic rivalries and potential rivalries, I think, with this new group.
Yeah. Michael Harry Klein. Brigham Young is what keeps the Big 12 a Power 5. That's debatable, but it doesn't hurt them. That's for sure. It's adding a nice little chip to the poker table.
But there is, I think to his point, there's a reason why they were one of the first ones you called.
I would think that, no question. I agree. Not without them, it'd be okay. With them, it makes them even better, no doubt about it.
Without them, it's a glorified AAC, I think.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, that's a great point.
Yeah. All right, let's, from Saudi Arabia to another mystical, magical foreign land, Chris in Missouri.
Right smack in the middle.
You are on the Bet US call line. Thanks for your
top that one, Chris.
I've been to Saudi Arabia. I was there for both the Gulf Wars, so I don't know if that counts.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely does.
My question may not be a popular one, but I'm wondering, Art Briles, he's kind of a I don't know what you want to call it, but he's not really welcomed back in the U.S. I'm wondering, because people have a short memory, people forget about Penn State, the NCAA cleared Baylor. I'm just wondering, at what point do you think Briles will come back and be a coach somewhere? Because he was too good a coach not to be leading a program somewhere. That's just my question, and thanks.
I don't think...
Chris, thanks for the call.
Look, and this is juxtaposed to Urban Meyer, who has always until 24 hours ago been able to blame everything bad that's happened in a program on something else, and maybe justifiably or non-justifiably so. That's another question for another time. Art Briles, for whatever reason, the toxicity attached to his name is so much more than any other coaches.
Everyone combined.
Everyone combined. I don't know why he gets more than everyone else. We know the situation was bad here. And the NCAA said in the report, while they cleared Baylor from the docket and they didn't punish Baylor for much of anything, what they did say in the report about Art Briles was very damning and not very good. And so I think that's going to hang over, and I think it's I believe in second chances. I believe in second chances for a lot of people. I do think that one of the things that Art Briles has never quite really done is he's never got 100% over the goal line of where his place was in all this. He has acknowledged at best 75% of it, and I think he needs to go the whole 100 to even get that chance. There are places that he would do a great job at. He's a great coach. But I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
He's a Hugh Freeze hire away from being the head coach at Liberty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be his best bet, would be to go reunite with his old Baylor AD, Ian McCaw, at Liberty. And we know that they pretty much can do what they want over there, right? So I'm sure that they would, be ready to deal with any kind of backlash. One problem is that he's getting older, right? How old is he now? He's 60-something, right?
He's in his upper 60s,
Yeah, so he's kind of older for a coach, especially one that's been out of the game now for
65.
Yeah, so 65 years old and has been out of the game now for the most part for like the last 5 years. So that's, I think, somewhat problematic. And to Paul's point, I don't know what he did to so many people. I know that there were people in Stephenville that had their issues, whether it was the rumors about steroids or it was the rumors about this or that. But the amount of vitriol and just pure hatred that was spewed at him from every angle when he was first, spotlighted as being a part of this story. You would have thought he was a mass murderer. I mean, it was unbelievable the amount of real hatred from people that came out towards him. I've never seen anything like it ever.
I've never seen that even at a former president.
No, I've never seen it.
I've never seen it. You're right. And one of the things is it's almost like that doesn't mean that he couldn't have been more forthcoming with some thoughts and emotions about it. And in fact, the question I asked him one time, it was as if he had killed everybody in your family.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, regardless of what happened or didn't, like, just the reaction that I remember towards him and how toxic that was. And anytime he tried to say anything, it was like, it didn't matter if he said the best apology ever, which he never did, but even if he had, it would have been thrown into the water right away, and people would just been like, nope, don't believe you. So I know
what he did. He won where you're not supposed to win.
Yeah, but
you
my
beat
gosh,
people
man.
You're not supposed to beat. And I along with it was the timing of and it didn't help that every single day there was something on outside the lines where now with others who have had their issues, it's kind of like
there is no outside the lines, basically. Yeah,
like Bob Lee left just in time for LSU.
Yeah,
I mean, did and among others as well.
The other thing is they couldn't get a job consulting for the Cleveland Browns. Consulting.
Well,
that was a 3-week hitch. He was there for minicamp.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that in the CFL.
The CFL, they wouldn't let him be the offensive coordinator for June Jones in the CFL.
But here's the thing: is why?
Yeah,
because people
were mad.
Got pissed.
It was a social media, as much social media backlash as anything I think I've ever seen.
He was hired,
and still to this day.
He was hired in the CFL.
The Cleveland Browns owner knew he was coming, and then all of a sudden, his wife's at a country club, and all of a sudden, some people say something to her, and all of a sudden, the owner tells who was the coach?
I think it was Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson. I think we don't need him around here much longer. The same thing with June Jones in the Canadian Football League. They hired him. And I know he's been in Italy. He's back in Italy again. And I said this before.
Is he
probably,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think I worded this wrong the last time I said this. And I don't. It took a superintendent in Mount Vernon, Texas, to hire him, know he was going to get hammered, and he dealt with it. He hired a PR guy in Brett Shipp who handled it. And you know what? Eventually, that kind of died down.
It lasted his first practice.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And that's why I thought.
And a couple of columns.
I thought after that, when I was driving home from, John Warner and I were driving home from Mount Vernon, and I thought, all right, well, if people look at this, if they want to hire him in college, after the NCAA thing is over, this lasts a day. The storm lasts for a day if you really wanted him, but it's many not worth it.
It's lasted for 5, 6, or 7 years.
Yeah.
And there are some things that are still there that people do question, but it's almost as if he's become the poster child for not getting a second chance.
Yeah, it's bizarre in the fact that we can see Dave Bliss get multiple coaching jobs after what he did, and there's
at high school too.
There's
which have been way worse
at a private Christian high school. Yeah. At a private Christian high school, Dave Bliss can be hired, but others they're totally awful. And so that goes back to what I was saying. I think the biggest reason why he hasn't been hired somewhere other than just people's uproars, there's just. I don't know what it is, who he crossed, whatever. I know he had dealings with certain people at Stephenville and all that, like I said, but I've just never seen anything like the reaction that he got as far as just like 100% absolute hate, no second chances, no chance.
There are still some today that think he should be like in hell.
Going back to your question, no. I mean, outside of like Liberty with Hugh Freeze leaving to go somewhere else, I don't see many opportunities out there in college for him, but he's a hell of a coach. I mean, no one can deny that. And you're seeing his seeds basically in the SEC right now, to some extent with Kendall at Arkansas, and then Jeff Levy for sure at Ole Miss.
Yep. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the question as well, Chris in Missouri. Here's a super chat for $10 from John Sprague. What are your thoughts about the Mountain West staying intact? Seems like the AAC is down to less than ideal choices and will be the one that actually might fold first. Yeah, Mike Oresco's got a mess in his hand, and it looked like he was going to be kind of helped and bolstered by ESPN. That's the allegations from Bob Bowlesby, among some others. And right now they're looking around like, where is everybody? I hope they make it. I'm not going to be like, hey, let's save the Big 12 or let's save this. I hope the AAC finds a way to make it in some way, but we do know that teams, a couple of them in the Mountain West, have said no thank you.
Yeah, that was a short-lived celebration for any AAC fans who were like... Excuse me. We're like, hey, Baylor Tech, ha, 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 you're going to be joining us soon. It's like, some of y'all are actually going to be joining us. So that was not a long celebration for them. Yeah, I hope that the conference doesn't, just wither up and fade away. But, you're seeing some of those teams saying put in the Mountain West, one of them being Boise, because there's the possibility still of joining the Big 12. And that's why when the Americans started talking about possible expansion, and mentioning a team like a Boise or someone along those lines. I mean, look, that realignment's not over. The Big 12's keeping that door open. So the last thing you would want to do if you're Boise is, hey, we think we might get invited to the Big 12 in a year or so. Let's go join another conference, go through the hassle of that, the buyouts that it takes, the money that it takes to rebrand, only to rebrand another 2 years. That's just – so that's part of why the Mountain West has stayed sturdy for the time being. But we'll see over the long haul how long that lasts.
Yeah, so much. And many of you, this is C. Jenkins, 313. I'm in Athens, Texas, home of the Hornets in Trinity Valley Community College, a hell of a junior college right there on 31.
Been through Athens so many times.
Thank God they got the half loop. They had the half loop, and Corsicana's working on a full.
Yes. The home of the hamburger.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's exactly right. All right, when we come back, we're going to
Don't you air quote that.
We're going to check in on Penn State. Let's see. Yeah, we got some text coming in from the 859. What's up, fellas? Hard pass on USF. They have a minimal growth potential. Facilities are absolutely pathetic. Leases Buck Stadium. Their administration is hot garbage. Love from Cincinnati. Thanks for the text. Just reading what you said. Here's from Tony, and we go. Big problem is macro versus micro. You think somebody should hire him, but you don't want to touch it personally.
Yeah.
On the total opposite side of the spectrum, Colin Kaepernick and Michael Sam. Same problem. Everybody feels bad, but doesn't take the bait themselves. That's from Tony on the text line.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way a smart way of looking at it. Is just there's people that just don't want to take that chance and don't want to deal with the headache, and that's understandable to an extent.
From Saudi Arabia to Iceland to Missouri and everything else in between, 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. Back in one moment. Pickup Outfitters, Jay Errett owns the company, 220 Lake Air Drive, Pickup Outfitters. And what they can do for you is pretty simple. They can add accessories to your pickup truck or whatever you drive as far as an SUV as well. Pickup Outfitters, again, Jay Errett, been in business with that company for just a little bit. And in fact, what he's done in a short amount of time, one, he put them on the map. I drive down Lake Air a lot. I didn't know they existed. Jay Errett took over. I now know they exist. Here's what you have available. Cover up your bed if you have a pickup truck. And if you need one, Pickup Outfitters has the ability to do that with you. They can get a plastic drop-in or Pickup Outfitters Armadillo spray and liners that comes with Pickup Outfitters' famous lifetime warranty. Also, Pickup Outfitters knows how to take care of your bed. Do you? Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive has bed covers, bed liners, spray in and lay in, and whatever bumpers and grill guards you need as well. Pickup Outfitters online at createacommotion.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Allen Samuels, we're proud to announce that Dodge is the #2 brand overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. We've got amazing offers this month, so let our team help find the new 2021 Dodge vehicle that's right for you.
Come by. Let's be friends.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
Jeff Howe, who has a radio hit on the Horn in Austin, also works for 247 Sports, covers UT. Texas, Oklahoma coming up this week. He'll join us at 4 o'clock. He asked if we could push it back about 10 minutes. We will do that. By the way, Saturday, Baylor and West Virginia, 11 o'clock kick. The Brazos parking, which Sikkim 365 Radio is all tied up with. Milo's setting up 9 o'clock for food service. They'll be ready to start at 7 as far as the tailgating. 9 o'clock food service, breakfast tacos, Bloody Marys, Marias, mimosas, screwdrivers, tequila sunrise. And you'll see the Sikkim 365 trailer, and right next to that is our tailgate area. And the 2021 national champion Baylor Bear basketball team will be special guests. At least all of the players on this year's upcoming roster expected to be there, 8:30 to 10:30. And they're going to rotate, taking pictures with fans, sponsor tents, etc., in the tailgate area. So that's really pretty cool.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have had their complaints or whatnot about the official Baylor tailgate setup and all of that, but it seems like there's been a lot of good stuff going on at Brazos Parking with the Sikkim 365 setup, so definitely check that out. And, having the basketball team over there I think is a really cool touch. Couldn't help last night. I was writing an article and listening back to Dave Aranda's press conference, and something struck me. He was talking about their offensive issues and the multiple delay of games, the multiple timeouts that they seemingly had to use to prevent another delay of game. I mean, it was messy, the coaching and the playing on Saturday in some cases. And he attributed some of that to, the situation and the team not dealing well with pressure at times, but mostly it was because it was so loud that they couldn't communicate very well. That's the benefit of a home game. Not last home game against Iowa State, where in a very close game by the end of the fourth quarter, there was no one there basically. This is the type of game as you start a home slate with 3 games in the next 4 weeks, all in Waco, and an open week that's the other week that's not a home game. I hope people show up and show out. Like, I don't want to hear how hot it is. I don't want to hear about the competition level. These are all quality teams. West Virginia is very good. There are 0 excuses, unless you are just deathly afraid of COVID or something. There is 0 excuses to pack that place. They did it in Stillwater. They would do it in Morgantown if the game was there. And this is a good football team that deserves the support. And that's my rant, and I'm done.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the noise, Craig. I brought up with JD before we had you on the postgame show, one of the things I said was, look, not only is this a lot of these players' first time playing a game in a massive role in Stillwater. I mean, a lot of them were on the team when they were there 2 years ago, but maybe they didn't see the field or really participate. Or some of the guys might not have even traveled because they were true freshmen and redshirted and not going to go because you got to, you travel at 65 people and not all 100, but that are there. So I mentioned on the postgame show that it's also Dave Aranda's first time as a head coach, and this staff as a coaching staff trying to get over the logistics of the noise, the small sideline, all these different things that happen in Stillwater. And we got a text saying, well, he's been at SEC and Big Ten, and they've all been all over the place. What does that difference make? Man, and the point I'll say is, look, you don't know until you've been in it, and it's hard. And that noise and that incessant pounding, like a texter was, not JD, but a texter was like, hey, what does that have to do with anything? Like, it has a lot to do with it. If you're not used to it as a coach, you can't just be like, oh, well, I've been in other places.
Well, the difference is he was only calling the defense the other places that he was. He only had to worry about Auburn or Alabama's offenses. He didn't have to worry about special teams, defense, offense, personnel, play calls. Like, he's in the middle of everything now. So, yeah, he's a young head coach. He's been at less than a year. And he even said in his conference as well of, last year was not a good start or an indicator to what they're doing. Like, there's things they're dealing with now that they should have dealt with last year, but they couldn't because it was different. And, for example, traveling to a packed Stillwater Stadium, that's not something they had to worry about very often last year. So, yeah, there's definitely growing pains and lessons to be learned, but after hearing him, I have no doubts they're going to correct what needs correcting. I would be shocked if they don't show up with a new attitude and a new little edge to them coming up Saturday against West Virginia. If not, I think there's an issue because they have every reason to show up with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder.
I agree. Armstrong, will you I've been since June 2010 when I moved to Waco and started covering Baylor. I have said as much as I could possibly say about the fans, the number of people in attendance. I've heard every excuse known to man. It's that way in other places. I get it. But, man, when you're fighting for your life as a program and a conference and then you get another lifeline, I'm still annoyed. I'm sorry. I'm still annoyed when I hear that it's too hot.
Well,
I don't get it.
No, I understand, and this is not – and I didn't bring that up to bash on same old folks. It's just simply saying there are no excuses to not have a packed stadium this weekend. I don't care. There's none. And unless you have, like, some personal thing to do, otherwise you can't make the game. But like I said, Stillwater was packed last weekend. Morgantown would be packed if they were hosting this game. Waco should be packed as well.
It's hot in a lot of places, and there's thousands and thousands of people. I know some fan bases are larger. Some schools' enrollments are as well. Armstrong, let's go to the Max Olson, if you don't mind. The Max Olson tweets from earlier today. One of them, this is from Max. This time it's called the stop rate for defenses. This is go back if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, here we go. So Georgia, 5 games, 61 drives. They have stopped an opponent from scoring 93.4% of the time. 10% higher than even stingy Iowa and their defense. South Alabama's in the middle of this mix at 3. Cincinnati at 4. A&M, we know their defense has played well, although they got grilled pretty good by Mississippi State. But we know their problem has been they can't do much on offense.
I bet you a week ago A&M was probably maybe even a little bit higher if you had done this percentage.
I don't know. I mean, it's there's enough that, yeah, maybe a percentage or two. It's not. Yeah. Clemson still playing good defense. We know their problems, just like A&M's. They're not scoring enough points. And then that's it. That's in the top. Now go to the next. This is an amazing page here. Georgia football. 93% of all drives, no touchdowns at all allowed so far this year when a team enters the red zone. They have more sacks, 18, than 10-yard passes allowed, 16. In their last 4 games, they've held and given up only 170 passing yards in the second half. Even though they've been blowing people out, and that's all they could possibly do is throw the football. Now, here's the key. Here's one more thing. The defense has given up 16 points. One more, I think there's one more, Armstrong. The defense has allowed 16 points through 5 games. Paul, look at this. In the last 40 years, only one team gave up less than 20 points through 5 games, 1993 Florida State, and they won the national title.
You're damn right they did.
That was in 1993. They had an asterisk next to winning the national title because we know Nebraska really did win it. But That's what Georgia's defense is doing. And the scary part about them, they've been playing defense like this for a long time. It's the offense that's also given them quite a bit of a lift as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to get the quarterback situation all the way healthy, and get that figured out. But I think the most impressive thing, other than just the numbers themselves, because those are mightily impressive, is the fact that these haven't come against a bunch of jokers. Like, it's not like they're playing William and Mary and they're playing Texas State and they're playing, Liberty or not Liberty. They're actually good. But you know what I'm saying? This hasn't been like the Little Sisters of the Poor that they're beating up on. I mean, UAB's a relatively solid program. Clemson, obviously, we know the deal with Clemson. South Carolina just beat the hell out of them. Vanderbilt, okay, not so much, but Arkansas to shut them out 30. I mean, these are not just like small teams they're playing, and they're still dominating in that way. So that's ridiculous how good that defense is.
All right, from the chat room, some things going on. Bob Williams, let's see, Jay Bird. I legitimately are hearing Oregon fans saying that they want to leave or they should leave the Pac-12, go to the Big 12. I haven't heard that. I don't believe that. But the key reason, the Pac-12 referees, and that led to this. that led to the Big 12 officials. And the SEC, by the way, they've had their problems, and I think the Pac-12 has always been pretty greasy. Cameron, look, I don't remember anything after 61-58, Baylor-TCU, one of the greatest games I've ever seen, even if TCU had scored and won the game. I never remember anything as a part of that game where I heard anything about the officiating. What did I hear?
There was the phantom pass interference call, or the questionable pass interference call that kept the drive going that I remember pretty vividly. I'm trying to get the details in my head, but there was a pass interference call down the field that kept the Baylor drive.
Opinion, and yes, there's some officiating that at times, and Cameron goes, third down calls that kept Baylor drives going. Stop somebody. I mean,
ultimately, Shock Linwood ran up their gut, and they had no answer.
But Baylor in Oklahoma, there was a call against Baylor's defense at the end of 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. They dominate in that game. Get a holding call, and Oklahoma scores before the half. You know what? That's not why Baylor lost the game. It was a huge play. They lost the game because Oklahoma beat the hell out of them in the second half and just came out with some pride and Oklahoma tradition, and it was a hell of a game.
Well, the whole comeback came in one quarter. So, they had a couple things go their way, but you have to have an awful lot go your way right outside of just calls. You got to be able to, make the plays, and they got stops on defense. And maybe it was I don't know. It had something to do with pass interference. Now I'm questioning myself.
And Cameron's a fan. That's fine. A TCU fan, a great listener to the show. A bunch of questionable penalties. They call on third down to keep Baylor drives going. And then they go, okay, then we can go to 1996, or you can go back to 2014. That's why I don't even like going into the gutter with things like that. I will say this, the NFL is screwing itself with these damn phones. Last night, Waller catches a pass, spins the ball, throws it, doesn't spike it in front of anybody near the bench. He wasn't looking. He was just happy to catch a pass against that San Diego LA Chargers defense. Penalty. It's just they're killing the game, even though it's an amazing game and so popular. When we come back, we're going to hear from Jeff Howe. He covers Texas, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio. Marco's Pizza. Menu includes, of course, pizza, sub sandwiches, wings and salads, cheesy bread, Cinna Squares, pizza bowls, and co-branded brownies as well that are so delicious as well. Marco's specialty pizzas include the white cheesy. Also, one we get, a couple of different kinds when we order here. In fact, we might do it today. Whenever I say that, I look for the young homies to look at me. And cheeses blended together as well. And, of course, you could get it quickly. Go to marcos.com online to order. Marco's Pizza with 4 locations in Waco, China Spring Road, Woodway, also in Belmead, and the new location in Robinson on the southeast side of town. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
3rd and 4. Sanders fires, tipped up, picked off by Dylan Doyle. And Doyle with another Baylor interception. That's the 3rd one of the night.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Jeff Howe on the horn in Austin. Also 247 Sports, Longhorn Blitz, all of that covers UT, Texas, and Oklahoma Saturday in a game that's, very intriguing, not just because of the rivalry, because Oklahoma somehow remains unbeaten, and Texas looks like they may have life back in them after their last wins against Texas Tech and TCU. Jeff, let's start with Bijan Robinson. I love the guy as far as as a player, but also listened to him when he was at Big 12 Media Days. If Tom Herman was still the head coach, would he ever get that many carries in a game?
Oh, man, I shudder to think about what that would look like. No, I don't think so. Tom, the logic kind of, it was almost talking in circles at times by the end, Smokey, to be honest with you. Any time we asked about Bijan's touches last year or lack thereof, Tom Herman's logic always came back to, when we had Zeke Elliott at Ohio State, we kept him on a pitch count as a freshman, and look at what worked out for him. Well, the counter argument to that was, in front of him, you had, an 1,800-yard back in Carlos Hyde. Oh, and by the way, Braxton Miller was a 1,000-yard rushing quarterback position, so you didn't need Zeke Elliott. as a freshman. That offense last year needed Bijan Robinson. It's funny, guys. He had, I think, 86, 87 carries all of last season. He had 35 in the TCU game. And I think that Steve Sarkisian, that's kind of his fallback plan. I don't think they're going to give him 35 every game, but the fallback plan now is, look, when the offense isn't clicking, when the passing game isn't working like it wasn't on Saturday, kind of your break glass in case of emergency situation is just turn around and give the ball to number 5 and let him carry you. And trust me, this is the Texas offensive line that's not just rolling people off the line of scrimmage. They're much better than they were in the Arkansas game. They've made improvements. They're adequate. They're average at times, but that's all they need to be. So yeah, I'll tell you this. And I haven't had anybody close to the Texas program, anybody that's followed this program, debunk me or try to debate me on this. He is the most special offensive player this program has had since Vince Young. And I realize the ground that covers, but he is already getting himself into that category just in terms of how special he is on a football field.
Jeff, yeah, I think with Steve Sarkisian also, it's not a complex offense. I don't think it's, he's not reinventing the West Coast or anything like that, but he's got a lot more diverse schemes than Sam pass, Sam run, Sam takes a break and hands it off, because that's what the offense devolved to with Texas. How's the rest of the team adjusted to the new normal of being involved in the offense?
Well, I love the word you used right there, Paul, devolve, because that's what I said a lot last year. If you look at kind of the offensive arc under Tom Herman, his first year in 17, that was their best offense, was to just put the ball in Sam Ellinger's hands and hope he does something. In 18, they formed a little bit more of an identity. In 19, Devin Duvernay was kind of the identity of the offense. And then last year, it got to the point at times, the Oklahoma State game was one, and there were a couple other games where, just snap the ball to 11 and pray he does something positive to get you out of a bind. I think what Steve Sarkisian does, like you said, Paul, it's not reinventing the wheel, but he's taking advantage of a lot of the cheat codes you have in modern offenses: pre-snap movement, motion, shifts, mixing up your personnel groupings, being diverse with your formations within those groupings. If you look at what Texas is doing, it's not that complex. They're using a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends to run the football. Jared Wiley, since he's come back from his shoulder injury, has been really good. Cade Brewer is just kind of a good, steady hand. They had mixed in some 2-back personnel to get either Roshan Johnson or Keelan Robinson on the field. And really, through his first 2 starts, Casey Thompson has developed a really good rapport with Xavier Worthy. I know Saturday wasn't Worthy's best game. Jordan Whittington kind of does what he's now starting to do more consistent, which is making the spectacular catch. So I think guys trust this offense more than the previous offense from the standpoint. Feel like Sark is going to put them in the best possible positions to make plays. And you talk linemen, skill guys, quarterbacks, whoever. That's the universal feel right now, Paul. They do feel like this offense is going to put them in the best possible position to go make plays.
Jeff, it wasn't easy, but they were able to shake that TCU bugaboo away finally. And Casey Thompson, did not have his best game. I mean, definitely his lowest numbers thus far since being named the starter just a couple of weeks ago. What were your thoughts on him, and what are your thoughts on Casey Thompson entering this game where we know the family history and the meaning behind this game for him? But he's obviously going to play a big role. What do you think they're going to be asking of him, and what do you expect?
Yeah, I think for the TCU game, Craig, it was, that's something you always worry about. And because, we've seen it at Texas over the last decade. You put first couple of games are really good, but then who's that first big opponent you face? And typically, more often than not, for whatever reason, it's been Gary Patterson, that TCU defense. And look, that's the game on the schedule Gary Patterson wants to win more than any other game. You talk to TCU people, they'll tell you that. It's kind of an all chips in kind of game for him. Also, Casey Thompson saw some looks that he hasn't seen before. They did run some different blitzes and mix things up, but so from that standpoint, it's a little more complex than what he saw against Rice and Texas Tech. But it seemed like, Craig, just kind of a culmination of a lot of things. The offensive line, from a pass blocking standpoint, didn't necessarily help him out. And then when he did have time and he was able to set his feet and get the ball to guys, a lot of drops on Saturday. So I think there's a lot of different issues, not anything on Casey Thompson specifically in the TCU game. But one thing I like, Craig, going back and getting to the Oklahoma question, that he did that they're going to need him to do is when things break down, they need him to be a decisive runner and make plays with his feet. That's the edge he had over Hudson Card even throughout their competition. That's one thing that's one of the reasons I think why Steve Sarkisian made the change. He really didn't need to show that much against Rice or Texas Tech, but the few times he needed to do it on Saturday against TCU, he did it. Because I'll tell you what, this Texas offensive line, even when they had a guy like Sam Cosmi the last 2 years, they struggled mightily against Oklahoma, not just because of the talent Oklahoma has on their defensive front, but Alex Grinch, he loves a lot of movement. He loves mixing front. They'll play a lot of twist games up front to get guys free. And Texas has not handled any of that well in their last 2 matchups with Oklahoma. So this is going to need to be a game where Casey Thompson is decisive with his feet. And, the number is scary for Texas fans. First-time Texas starting quarterbacks in this game since Peter Gardere, 3-14-1 in this game. So, the history isn't great for guys making their first start in this game. But this isn't your typical first-time starting. Casey Thompson knows what this game is about. He's been, he's traveled there as Sam Ehlinger's backup, so he's been in the stadium. He kind of knows the atmosphere. Yes, it's going to be different when he steps on the field as a starter and plays in it for the first time. But again, I don't. It's a big deal, but I don't know if it's just a massive hill to climb that it otherwise would be for a guy making his debut in this game.
I'll tell you what I thought. And you know this, and Texas fans know this. For the last decade, they've been a roller coaster. A win that and even that time when they beat Notre Dame, and we know what happened there, and all that stuff. There's like this thirst that they're. But I like the way this seems to be a team on an even keel. But I love the fact, if you're a Texas fan, they forced 3 turnovers. They recovered fumbles. There was a muff punt. That obviously was a deadly sin against TCU. But they came after. They forced turnovers. I thought that was a big deal as well.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to Steve Sarkisian, Smoky, and the kind of the culture he wants to instill. He wants a smart football team. Tom Herman was the guy that sold himself as being a details guy. And you watch Texas over the last 4 years, a lot of details, especially details in big games, that got missed, that added up to costing Texas. None of the Arkansas game kind of was what it was, but this is a Texas team where even though they gave up a long kickoff return against TCU, you don't feel like special teams, they're at a disadvantage going into every game. We're in Big 12 play now, and I know you guys got a taste of it in the Baylor-Oklahoma State game on Saturday. Officiating is going to be one of those deals everybody's going to have to deal with in this league on a given Saturday on both sides. It was their most penalized game of the season. But I think the fact that, 2 things, Smokey, the fact that they fought through that and found a way to win a game that, the last couple of years, they probably find a way to lose that game. And then I think it's the lesson they learned from Arkansas, which is, look, you have to prepare. If you hear anything from Steve Sarkisian that might sound like he took it directly from Nick Saban, he talks a lot about the process leading up to a game, how you practice. He felt like they had a really good week of practice leading up to Rice. And then Texas Tech, he said, is the best week of practice they've had all year. It felt like the preparation was good going into the TCU game. So I think guys are – I'm not going to say Texas is there yet in terms of understanding that standard, but I feel like guys finally understand or starting to understand what Steve Sarkisian's talking about when he talks about the process and playing to a standard. And to your point, Smokey, that's something Texas hasn't had since the glory days under Mack Rhoades, when you knew what you were going to get from Texas pretty much game in and game out.
Is part of the benefit, though, through these first few games, is that he is mellow?
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace, Paul. He's and granted, he does a really good job, I think, Sark does of picking his spots. One thing that I know he was not happy with was the penalty they got for excessive celebration after the Anthony Cook strip sack when everybody ran down to the end zone to pose. He actually cut the question off about that in the press conference. He said, don't worry, that'll be handled on the bus here in about 15 minutes. We'll get that fixed. So, he's really good about picking his spots. He's not an old, reactive. He's more proactive about things. So I think from a personality standpoint, I said this the day he was hired, they hired a guy who was pretty much the antithesis of Tom Herman. Rather than just being fire and brimstone and going 110 miles an hour all the time, a guy where players genuinely feels like he cares about them. And trust me, that's something this Texas program needed. I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing guys respond to him pretty well.
So, Jeff, on the health front, Denzel Okafor now out for the year. Wide receiver Troy O'Meary out as well. Looks like Josh Thompson will be back. Anything that I'm missing there as far as important health notes entering Red River?
No, Craig, I mean, they're kind of like everybody getting to the halfway point. There's some guys who are a little banged up here and there. I know Luke Meyer had some cramping issues in the TCU game. And it is the Okafor thing. That's just unfortunate because it's a really bad way for anybody to end their football career, especially a guy who's given as much to this program as Denzel Okafor has. But, one thing about the Texas offensive line, Derek Kerstedter's kind of a wild card for them. He's played everywhere. They slide him over to left guard. They plug Andre Carrick, the redshirt freshman, in the right tackle, and they just kind of were off and running. If you look at Pro Football Focus in terms of run blocking, it was our best game of the season with Kerstetter at guard and Carrick at tackle for most of the game. Josh Thompson coming off the head injury. I do think, one thing that kind of surprised me in the TCU game, I would have expected TCU to go after the Texas corners more because this Texas secondary has not played the deep ball well at all this season. Especially Deshaun Jameson coming off a pretty forgettable game against Texas Tech and Darian Dunn making his first start. TCU never really challenged the corners, so I think to get Darian Dunn some live in-game reps was critical, and then to get Josh Thompson back for a week where they say what you want about Oklahoma, and we all know that offense, when they get it together, they're going to be one of the more explosive offenses in the country. I think Texas is hoping that doesn't happen this week, but now they're as healthy, Craig, right now as they're going to be. And I think for Texas fans, the best news they got all week was Bijan Robinson saying yesterday, coming off the practice, said, yeah, he feels great, and he's ready to roll on Saturday. So as long as Five is healthy, I think for Texas fans, they'll deal with all the other stuff.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate your time.
Jeff?
247.
Yeah, Jeff, who do you have this weekend?
Yeah.
I'm leaning Oklahoma right now just because I don't like first-time starting quarterbacks and I don't like first-time head coaches in this game. But as inconsistent as Oklahoma has been this year, and quite frankly how bad they've looked at times, I'll tell you this, I don't think either one of these teams is prepared to blow the other one out.
Yeah.
So right now, I'll take Oklahoma in a very tight game with the right to reserve I'll reserve the right to take a pick later in the week.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, Oklahoma's inconsistency in offense, at least so far, kind of, to me, leaves this door open. Who knows? Plus the emotions of this game. We've seen upsets. We have seen that before.
You can't lose to Charles Thompson's kid, right? Like, that's just that's a sin. Lose it.
Oh, that'll be the
greatest
story.
Players of all time's kid for the arch rival.
How often will that be brought up? Like Charlie Brewer was never recruited by Texas.
As often as we saw Sam Ellinger's mom in the stands.
Yeah.
So every other drive.
Yep. And it was going to be Hudson Card's mom for quite some time, but that didn't last very long.
It was for about a game and a half. We did see her a lot.
When we come back, Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics. Sick of 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
BetUS.com, the 3-decade leader. Remember these promo codes, SICK'em125 and SICK'em200. 125 for cash, that's 125% bonus on your deposit of $100 or more, or 200% on if you use crypto on a deposit of $100 or more. So if you're into crypto, boom, 200% bonus. If you're just old-fashioned like me, like this old chunk of coal here, then 125% on a cash bonus. Why BetUS? Well, they pride themselves on being America's favorite sportsbook, and with action on every sport across the world, we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game, and they've got the bigger retail bonuses in the industry to keep their players betting longer, and their loyalty program is legendary. They've got stats and up-to-date things on the website that you can go and see and make the best wagering decisions possible. So go to BetUS.com, promo code SICK'em125 or SICK'em200.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality Study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics, wants to get you back in the game.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We've got the full meal deal and the behind the scenes. Young studs in Armstrong Sims and Hayden Bumpus and Jack McKenzie. Paul Catalina, David Smoak. Craig Smoak as well. We're now joined by Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades. Oh, by the way, here's a note. Jovan Overshawn is going to join us. Overshawn's going to join us tomorrow at 4:30 to take questions and discuss the upcoming game, Baylor at home against West Virginia. How are you doing? Good?
I'm doing well. How are all you doing?
We're doing really well. We're doing. What's it like to have home game, off week, and home game staring at you?
Yeah, that's a pretty good stretch in the month of October. So I like it. This is probably I don't recall an open date this late in the season, at least in a while. It doesn't seem like that. Last year was completely, off kilter because of COVID. But this is a late open date for us. At least it feels that way. Excited about playing Saturday at home at 11 a.m. and then follow that up with BYU at 2:30 and homecoming. So great 2 weeks for football.
2 questions. Do you prefer a late bye week, or do you like the early one since it's off of maybe a little bit closer to camp, which is really hard on a lot of players, so they can get refreshed for a stretch run? And since BYU is coming to Baylor first in the Big 12, are you in charge of the official welcome basket?
First question, I'm not a football coach, so Dave's opinion matters a lot more than mine. But for me, and as I think about it, from a head coaching perspective, I think if I had to ideally choose, it would be within the first 2 weeks of October. Maybe that second week of October would be ideal. When we think about almost splitting it in half, when you take into account fall camp. So that's the way, I look at it. And then, we'll do a great job of welcoming BYU. Both the president and obviously athletic director will be here, and looking forward to that game. But prior to that, we've got a big game against West Virginia, and we need to be locked in and ready for that one.
Mack, before we talk about West Virginia in particular, I mean, obviously the team took its first lump of 2021 on Saturday night, a tough loss in Stillwater. I will say that I really enjoyed hearing Dave Aranda talk about the game itself right afterwards, but also on Monday. I mean, there's been no lack of accountability for just the overall performance, and it seems like everybody's back to work and realizing where the missteps were made. What were your thoughts in watching that unfold and on Saturday night, and now the team needing to bounce back?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and I always I always look forward to the conversation that I have with Dave following a game, whether it's immediately following that Saturday or Sunday after he's had an opportunity to watch film. Just a side note, what I think is really cool is that usually Dave's thoughts and the way he saw a game live in person on Saturday night, it's not far off from what he says and what he saw on film following the next day. He is really, really good at seeing the game unfold right before him live, and certainly picks up a ton. But I think I kind of felt like a lost opportunity, not taking anything away from Oklahoma State. That's a really good football team, and they were really physical. I felt like we could have played better on both sides, and had some missed opportunities. And quite frankly, they gave us a chance to stay in it because of the turnovers. And I also think it's a game that we can grow from and will grow from. And there was a lot of ownership. There were a lot of thumbs pointing back at one another. I saw it with coaches saying this is on me, and I saw it with players. What I didn't see was any finger pointing. Nobody finger pointing at anyone, blaming it on anyone. And I think if as long as that's happening, and he's a very detailed person, and that's we're probably cut from similar cloth that way. And I really appreciate that. And he has expectations in terms of those detail, and he's holding people accountable to it. And so I'm grateful for that, and I think we're going to be better for it.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Mack, last week I talked to you. We're going to have Jovan on tomorrow, answering a lot of different questions. And I know that you were kind of maybe not quite sure some of the feedback did. And we're going to have her on to answer every question people want, from the berm to whatever else. What was it like that when you got off the show with your staff?
I think just had a conversation with them, and probably trying to just gain a better, deeper understanding. And I'm probably I'm an athletic director that is probably more engaged into the details and the weeds than maybe some. But because of conference realignment, all of that, probably had been less engaged than normal. And so just, again, trying to gain a better understanding on some of the suggestions, some of the complaints. So that was the conversation. I appreciate you dropping off the folder of all of the feedback. And Lauren has my administrative assistant has taken that and has compiled that, and so we're taking a look at it. And one of the things that I appreciate about Jovan is she wants to be on the radio with you and address anything that needs to be addressed, and including misconceptions, etc., and areas that of growth for us. So I know this. I'll be listening in tomorrow.
Mack, I know one thing about you that
she'll handle it too. By the way, she will absolutely be just fine, as you know.
And Mack, I know one thing about you and the way that you run things and like to handle things is the answer of that's just the way it's always been or that's the way it has to be is not really going to get that far, is it?
Yeah, that's probably the worst answer that you can give me. And in fact, when I first started here in August of 2016, the very first all staff meeting, I told people, if I ask you why we do something a certain way, the worst answer you can give me it's because that's the way we've always done it. That's not the right answer. You need to tell me exactly why we do it that way. And then my next question, after you're done explaining to me why we do it that way, then I'm going to ask you if that's the best way. And depending upon your answer, if you tell me you don't know, then I'm going to tell you better go find out quickly whether or not it's the best way. And if it's not the best way, then we better start doing it the best way immediately. And so, yeah, that's not a suitable answer.
Mack, we've talked to you quite a bit over the last few months about the transfer portal and just all the different things and changes going on in college football. The D1 Council did approve the waiver today to allow teams to add up to 7 players to replace players who do transfer. What are your thoughts on that approval and that change to how rosters are constructed?
Well, full transparency, I'm on the football oversight committee, the NCAA football oversight committee, and I'm on the subcommittee that actually brought forth that piece of legislation. So I think it's really great. I obviously support it, and again, it's a 1-year waiver. I think it struck a pretty good balance. There are rosters throughout the country, especially at the group of 5, that are down below the 85, that they're, right in the mid 70s, and the transfer portal has really impacted them. And so, that number of 7, where did we land? Why did we land at 7? There really wasn't anything magical. The Football Coaches Association certainly had input into it. And, I think coaches talked about, 5 to 10. And so, it's where we landed, somewhere in the middle. I like the fact that you can't replace, anyone that's not leaving the institution academically eligible. I like the 1-for-1. Again, beyond the initial counters, the 25 limit. I think it continues to put an emphasis on recruiting, high school student athletes. So, again, I think we landed in a good place, and we'll look at data after a year and see, any tweaks, does it become permanent, etc. So good solution for now.
We had someone on who does stats and graphics and images on Friday, and he sent us an amazing presentation about where the Big 12 is, where everybody else is, where conferences are, who makes sense and who doesn't, and why somebody that maybe doesn't make sense makes sense when it comes to expansion in the Big 12. You guys were kind of sneaky with this, weren't you? Bob Bowlesby and the Big 12 and Oliver Luck, or you and some others that were put on that expansion committee. You had a lot of this at your fingertips pretty quickly. Did that allow you to pretty much react when some thought you guys were dead in the water?
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought it was really important, and I think I can speak on behalf of everyone else in the league. But, I personally was vocal about, I don't want to sit through an entire football season and every Big 12 game, the commentators are all they're doing is talking about, two schools leaving and the uncertainty in the Big 12 and the Big 12's defeated. And we need to change that narrative. Now, you can't just change it to change it. You got to be thoughtful and make sure that if you're making change, it's really good change. And so, we began to immediately vet and look at, potential members. Certainly waited for teams to reach out or schools to reach out to us, but at the same time, we were looking and vetting data, et cetera. And so, we were able to get to a place pretty quickly. And again, time will tell. Time is the greatest judge, but I think we really landed in the very best place we could land. And you think about a Cincinnati that goes into Notre Dame and wins at Notre Dame. There's not many that do that, period. And so again, I remain and will continue to remain just excited about the future that this conference has.
Can you see a chapter 2 coming sooner rather than later?
And I'm assuming when you talk about chapter 2, you're talking about, a phase 2 of maybe adding.
Yeah. Going from 12 to 16. And we've reported the teams. I'm not expecting you to be able to do that, obviously, but can you see that as something that's more likely or not?
Yeah, one, I would say, you never say never. I think, a league of 14, and we'll be a league of 14 for at least a couple of years. I would guess. I think a league of 14 is hard when it comes to scheduling. That doesn't mean that you automatically go from 12 to 16, but it's a good question, and I'm not dodging it. I think the best way for me to answer is I'm not in a place where we're going to add just to add. I mean, it's really got to be compelling, I believe. If you're going to add, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, you're going to have to show me that it brings X amount of value that each of those add-ons pay for themselves, and maybe there's even a plus side to it. I think you leave that possibility open. You certainly don't close that door. There's some other things that are happening in our world, right? Whether it's the Big Ten, part of the Big Ten TV contract up, prior to 24-25, the Pac-12 TV contract up, expired at 24-25, and so you look at all of that. So, again, open-minded to it, but it's got to be compelling.
Thank you, Mack. Craig, anything else? Paul, anything else for Mack Rhoades? Mack, thank you. You and I will sit in the berm, and we'll have a tailgate party right there in the middle of that and just invite whoever we want for a home game here pretty soon.
Well, I'll be happy to do that, and I'll look forward to the segment that you all have with Jovan, and she'll be terrific.
She will answer. She's ready to answer any questions and get straight into it. Thank you, Mack. Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I thought what he said there, like maybe 2 or 3 answers ago, about how the Big 12, when I asked him about all the images, graphics, and data and all that, and it was a very small group that saw this almost immediately and said, we did not want to spend the entire football season hearing about how we were losing the 2 logos. Didn't say logos, I did. And how they wanted to be more about what they're gaining rather than spending the next 3 to 4 months talking about what they're losing. And they did it fast. Emphatically doesn't mean that the Texas game with Oklahoma Saturday won't be all about maybe the SEC rather than the Big 12. But I thought that was pretty impressive the way he said that they needed to remove emphatically, and they did. And he's speaking, again, not for Mack Rhoades, but speaking for everybody else. 443, Craig's Off the Radar. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, got the wrong one. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Well, you know what? It's one of the businesses that sponsors this show, and they have been in business since 1943. Now, think about that. All of what's changed in America, what's changed when it comes to product, customer service, how to get things to you, or how you can shop. And Pickup Outfitters has weathered every single possible whatever storm there is and grown along the way whenever there's been something that's fantastic for the economy in America. Pioneer Steel and Pipe right now offering metal buildings and components, metal roofing, structural pipe, and including a 1/2-inch diameter to 24-inch diameter pipe and all types of structural steel, beams, channel iron, flat iron, angle iron, square tubing, and much more. They also will help you with your project suggestions with designs and also even help you with a list of reliable contractors so it doesn't become a nightmare. And offering high-quality materials, making sure your metal building bids are structurally sound. Competitors will bid buildings lighter to make them cheaper, and Pioneer Steel and Pipe will help you with that if you need it. Also offering fast turnaround time in the business on metal building orders. They'll deliver and unload the product for you. Their large pipe inventory gives you so many different options on building a nice fence or even an entryway. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Pioneer Boys in Waco and Bryan open Saturday 8 to noon if you can't get there during the week, or go online to pioneerboys.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Colby. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand, and for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting, we fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Time for Off the Radar, taking a look at some stories across sports that are not on the immediate front lines of what we normally discuss. Stories themselves, though, aren't always off the radar nationally, because I'll start off with the most talked about sports story over the last 24 to 48 hours, and that is Urban Meyer and his spot as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars following the videos and pictures that came out from over the weekend of Urban enjoying himself with some lady in one particular video and some ladies in general that were not his wife, and his reasoning why and his explanation and all of that is just, it's been one big eye roll basically. But today we did hear from the Jaguars organization as Shad Khan, the team's owner, released an official statement saying, "I have addressed this matter with Urban. Specifics of our conversation will be held in confidence. What I will say is his conduct last weekend was inexcusable. I appreciate Urban's remorse as there's a drive into deep left field by Castellanos." I get that joke, yeah. Yes. So there was a lot of fun being had with the Jaguars statement and using the, what was that announcer's name that made that call?
Oh, it was Tom Brenneman.
Tom Brenneman, yeah, the Brenneman call. And there's been all sorts of like different, memes and everything coming out of this. But this was from Mike Silver, and this is actually serious. He said that, based on how much you believe of this and whatnot, and he's a very well-known reporter around the NFL, but the Urban Meyer situation in Jacksonville has reached a crisis point, especially in the locker room. One player told me he has zero credibility in that stadium. He had very little to begin with. Players were particularly put off by the fact that Meyer canceled Monday's team meeting as he dealt with the uproar over the videos of him and a young woman getting cozy in an Ohio bar. He even canceled the team meeting. He was too scared, a player said. Instead, Meyer only apologized to position groups individually. He portrayed the woman in the videos as a random person who was just there dancing. Suffice it to say, his audience was highly skeptical. Said one player, "We looked at him like, what the blank?" Right when he left, everyone started dying laughing, and he knew it. Bottom line, said the player, "It's bad. I don't know how he's going to function." So that is from a player that Mike Silver talked to in the Jaguars locker room. So everybody's having their fun, but there's actually a very serious situation to deal with in Jacksonville right now.
Well, what I think part of the issue is that Urban's been a college coach forever. And when you're a college coach, these things happen, although it's difficult to navigate no matter what walk of life you're in. But when these things happen as a college coach, you can say, listen, this is not anything to do. Don't worry about it. Shut up. You've got to do this. But when you're talking about millionaire athletes that have had all of them, not all of them, but a great number of them have probably had a drunken video of them on Twitter. Maybe it's just in Vegas, like, woo-hoo-hoo, hey, look, this is, James Robinson and me in Vegas, and James Robinson doesn't know that guy, but it just happened. So they all know, and also, many of them also have randoms coming up to them and doing that kind of stuff all the time. So they know the life of a millionaire athlete or a public figure out in that kind of situation. And to say that the girl was kind of randomly dancing on him when they saw the video is like, okay, look, your personal life is your personal life, but don't come in here and BS us.
Yeah, they're grown-ass men. They know. And hell, who knows with the locker room, and I'm not saying this to be silly, but some of those guys probably, hey, I'm trying to be real here. Urban Meyer's problem is in the locker room. The owner is mad, and he should be mad. They're 0-4. Everyone thought they would struggle. There's no question. One of the things Urban Meyer does is win games. He's kind of out of choices, though, when it comes to, like you mentioned, Paul. He always has been able to point the finger at somebody else, and now that there's only one finger to point, and that's at himself. His biggest problem is not going to be whatever happens to him personally. That's between he and his family. His biggest problem is whether or not he's lost his team or if he ever had them in the first place. And if you lose trust in your locker room, you're a dead man walking.
Yeah, you think those cluster headaches are bad when you're losing to Michigan State? Just wait till now.
Yeah, he's in a mess, and I don't know how you win.
You think he survives this year?
I don't know.
How do you fire him?
I don't think you can
for cause.
Yeah,
I mean, he publicly embarrassed them.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's got to be some sort of a part of that deal. You wonder if there's still going to have to be some sort of payout.
Of course, those guys always fall upwards. I mean, Charlie Weiss is still getting paid, for goodness sakes. You know what I mean?
No, you're right.
So those contracts, those are just so ironclad.
And on top of that, then someone asked me, I think it was Nick asked me on Twitter, do you feel like this falls in his lap and then he ends up with USC? Paul, what was your response to me about USC?
Well, USC doesn't need to get in that mess right now. No. And here's the thing that Urban Meyer would have to do. If he had to wait like 3 years and USC was open, maybe he could have get enough distance between that video, but stuff lives online forever. He's going to have to go into USC and recruit, and he's going to have to walk into parents' houses. And again, I'm not kidding. Like, what somebody does in their personal life is their business, but the question is your personal life affected your work? And I'm going to send my son to play for you. Is your personal life going to continue to affect your work? And this is now a great many things that have happened to Urban Meyer that are the discipline problems at Florida, which were certainly under his watch. And given the talk we had about our Briles and some of the stuff that happened at Florida, you've got to look at that. He lied about Zach Smith through 2 schools, lied about it, and now he's got this. It's going to be hard for him to be like, look, this is something else.
He's toxic. He's now, and Tony Altimore just sent us this. The USC president, at least Tony's saying this, has made it clear that they won't touch, whether she said it in private or whatever, they won't be touching Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I think USC would be stupid too at this point, no matter how many games he would win you. It's clear. He's a walking problem, PR nightmare. So, yeah, Urban, rightfully say, like, hey, that's that person's personal life, but he is a public figure out in public, and those pictures are, all that's public. So it's not a good look for the Jaguars. And while some were having fun using the Tom Brenneman line or various memes or whatever, Shad Khan did say that he had addressed the matter and the specifics were in confidence, but his conduct was inexcusable, and he appreciates Urban's remorse, which he believes to be sincere. Paul, do you believe his remorse is sincere?
Yeah, I actually do.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I think he probably is.
Yeah.
It says now he must regain our trust and respect. That will require a personal commitment from Urban to everyone who supports, represents, or plays for our team. I am confident he will deliver. So that was Shad Khan, the team owner. We'll see what happens. There's not many wins coming their way. They're a bad football team, and this is just piling on to that as well.
Tennessee is next, I think, and I don't know who is after that, but we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, in theory, they could win that game, but I'm not banking on it. So that's just kind of the deal there with Urban Meyer. The Jaguars having to do some crisis management basically right now. Let's see here. Bobby Witt Jr. has been named the minor league player of the year for the American League. Obviously, his dad was a former Ranger at one point in time. But Bobby Witt Jr., 2021 minor league player of the year by Baseball America. He's a top prospect in the Royals organization. He's going to have a lot of player of the year honors from all over, but played in 123 games at two different levels in minor league baseball, hit .290, also had 33 home runs, 29 steals, power, everything. He's 5 tools, and Baseball America named him AL rookie, a minor league player of the year, and I'm excited about him. Baseball is, if you're an Astros fan or teams that are in contention, I'll get to that in just a moment. There's reason to be excited right now, but he's somebody I've been following along just because I remember watching his dad, and he seems to be the real deal, man. I'm sure we'll see him soon enough.
And the Rangers, I think, were 2 picks away from being able to draft him.
Yep.
But he went first overall to the Royals. I'm sure he'll be with them next year. So, and I can't wait to see him. There's a lot of good. This is a good era of baseball right now when you talk about exciting young players all over the league. It's not just concentrated in one area. It's a good time for baseball. I hope baseball is smart enough to capitalize on it. I just worry their commissioner is not.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of reasons to be excited about it, but I also don't feel like there's a lot of that excitement being delivered in return. I think that's kind of towards the NFL and the NBA more so, and how baseball gets that back somehow. I don't know, but they definitely have at least the personnel to be able to be attractive, more so than they have been in the last few years. But again, how do you take advantage of that? But tonight in baseball, AL wildcard Game 1, Yankees and Red Sox. That will see a first pitch of 7:08, and the Red Sox will be without J.D. Martinez. He is not on the wild card roster. He is one of their, obviously, the best players on the Red Sox roster, as I'm sure Paul will talk about in just a moment, but had a left ankle sprain that he suffered last Sunday in the season finale against Washington. So he is not available. And, Paul, how are you feeling ahead of tonight?
I feel terrible.
Doesn't feel good at all.
I feel terrible about it. I like Nathan Eovaldi. I don't like the matchup with Garrett Cole. He seems to have figured his post-sticky stuff life out pretty well. Not only that, any lineup that the Yankees put out now has Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge in it, and since August 1st, they're both batting well over 300 with 18, 19 home runs, knocking the ball out of the yard. They're both right-handed hitters. That can punish Fenway Park.
Do you feel good or not?
And I feel terrible about it. But if they win, I'll get excited until they inevitably lose to the Rays, who are probably going to win the whole damn thing. So
you got a little bet rolling with Nicky Latarulo?
No, I want to keep our relationship friendly and professional.
Okay.
I think what your bet should be is if the Yankees win, you have to talk in her accent.
A New York accent or Rhode Island, wherever.
Yeah,
Northeast. That's all I know.
In a female, I don't know how to do that
with
one.
the female tone.
With the female tone.
Yeah. There we go.
I think she's got like a little Ariana Grande to her voice. But the Yankees, Red Sox tonight, Cardinals, Dodgers. That's the NL wild card. That'll start up tomorrow.
And look, if the Red Sox win, she has to do the whole sports cast on Friday night with high school teams. With high school teams going, Midway's got a ripper tonight against Mansfield.
Yeah, that would
hit home. Oh my God.
That would go over really, really well here in Central Texas, I am sure. Also, let's see here. I just had that in front of me. Okay. The Chiefs have promoted wide receiver Josh Gordon to the 53-man roster. He could make his debut versus the Buffalo Bills. So, it's probably only about 2 weeks until we see he's out of the league again for some reason or another, because that's just been the pattern. But if he is anything like he used to be, which I assume he probably is pretty close to what he used to be. I mean, what wear and tear is he taking?
Yeah.
This is completely unfair. It's completely unfair for him to be on the Chiefs. If this is like Josh Gordon from a few years ago.
Clearly he's practicing well and in good shape because he's only been on the practice squad for a week and a half.
Yeah.
So this is the Chiefs. This is not, he's not.
The rules allow them
ridiculous,
to put a claim in. He could, if he was playing for the Cowboys don't need him. I'm surprised, but it's part of the, It's
my point is that their talent evaluation is pretty spot on, and so
the Chiefs,
yes,
kinda?
yeah, it's pretty spot on, and it's not like they're not in a really bad injury position. I think Byron Pringle might be a little banged up, and he's their fourth wide receiver, but I mean, again, he's there in 2 weeks, already on the active roster. It tells me he's probably in pretty good shape.
Yeah, they didn't sign him for a PR deal.
No, they don't need it.
No, they signed him because he could be at freak,
He's a freak
if he's anything like what
in
he
that
was.
offense with all the weapons they already have. Yeah.
But the problem is like, can he just not do the things that he's done to get himself in trouble over and over again?
The answer to that is his resume says no.
Yeah, Dee Richards, former Baylor women's basketball star. I don't say Lady Bears anymore, right? So Baylor women's basketball star named to the WNBA All-Rookie team. She plays for the New York Liberty, so Dee All-Rookie. She was first among rookies in three-point percentage, second in games played, field goal percentage, steals, third in assists, third in total minutes, third in blocks. So pretty good rookie year for the former Lady Bear, Dee Richards, and she's a WNBA All-Rookie.
You know what? She's an incredible kid. She really is, young lady. And she and Dejanay Carrington, who's in the with the Connecticut Sun, they're in the I guess in the semis or whatever it is. I don't know, but against Chicago. Paul, thank you. You told me Chicago's up 2-1
Right,
in
Paul
that
gave
series.
us his playoff recap.
And the young lady that was that's now out west playing, I think in forgot her name, in L.A., who was a guard the year before. They went styling this year. I mean, everything you saw on them on their Twitter feeds during the season was about showing off their clothing line or Nike brand or whatever. They had a fantastic amount of fun.
Yeah, they did, and she obviously had some success as well, so congrats to Dee, who we got to know pretty well over the last 4 years. Good to see her thriving and living it up in New York. And finally, a little golf story to close this out. You like the little special events that golf does from time to time, like the match.
Tiger and Mickelson.
Superstar matchups and everything like that. Well, the biggest rivalry in golf right now would be Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no question.
And would you also agree that the tensions kind of, faded a little as they both represented America in the Ryder Cup?
They had a cool little handshake.
They kind of hugged necks in a very interesting way.
Yes. Well, you're going to see more of Brooks and Bryson together. I guess the Ryder Cup was all that we needed to bring them together because they are going to be a part of the latest The Match in Las Vegas. Golf.com reports there is a content deal with DeChambeau. The November 26th match will be contested over 12 holes at Wynn Golf Club, which was reopened in 2019. It'll be the fifth iteration of the match, which Turner Sports has been the producers of. And, of course, the first one was Tiger versus Phil at Shadow Creek out there in Vegas. But DeChambeau versus Koepka will air on TNT at 3 East, and it's the first one-on-one since the Tiger-Phil bout because they've had like the Barkleys and the Mannings and those guys. But this will be Koepka and DeChambeau, the match.
In 12 holes. They don't want
12 holes.
They don't want the last 6 holes to bubble over with animosity.
Yeah, well, it says official announcement, further details, format, stakes, etc. expected later this week. So I might have that for the Thursday off the radar if that comes out in time. But interest you at all? Y'all gonna be checking that out?
I think so. And I think that this is kind of, it'll be interesting. They want to both beat the hell out of the other. And that's what you would, just like Phil and Tiger. Yep. I think that this might be it could get worse, or this could kind of help detente.
Yeah.
Yeah. This could kind of somehow, they wouldn't do this if there wasn't some sort of, I want to beat your butt, but at the same time that maybe it's thawed a little bit.
Well, and I'm sure that's also the biggest price tag that they will get for this little matchup. I mean, take advantage of the controversy and the fact that people be like, oh, these guys don't like each other. I'm going to tune into that.
You don't like Craig. You don't like Paul. How about $1 million to play around a golf?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Can I say whatever I want to him?
Yeah.
Mic'd up, yeah.
Wireless mics.
Yeah. So we've got the match with Brooks and Bryson. We've got Josh Gordon almost ready now to play for the Chiefs. We've got Bobby Witt Jr., the minor league player of the year, Didi rookie of the all rookie team in the WNBA, amongst some various other notes that are off the radar, including Urban Meyer and whatever happens in Jacksonville.
And baseball playoffs start tonight. And good luck to the Red Sox and the Yankees, Dodgers, and Cardinals.
No, no, not good luck to the Yankees. We don't want
good luck to the Yankees.
Bad luck.
Good luck to the Yankees, Dodgers, and Cardinals as the postseason begins tonight, Major League Baseball. When we come back, he covers Penn State. We will check out Penn State and Iowa. We'll have a couple of different Penn State riders and a couple of different Iowa riders on. They will play Saturday, number 3 against number 4. And we'll come back and feature that game next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Right now, it's been a little bit of a struggle as far as getting inventory on the lots over at Richard Carr. You've probably seen the fact that around the country there's been chip shortages and things of that nature. Inventory has been a little bit of an issue, but Richard Carr, despite the bad news of the computer chip shortages, they want to let you know that there's good news as well. GM has just announced that they are restarting production, and there will be a steady flow of vehicles released throughout the fall. Cars and trucks are on their way, so now is the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. Get your name on their first-in-line priority list, and you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. If you're in the market for a pickup, well, get the best. Get a Sierra from Richard Carr. The ideal combo of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes Sierra the best truck on the road. If you're looking for a roomy SUV, consider the Buick. They've got a full lineup of SUVs that offer the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or perhaps rather than a truck or a roomy SUV, you want a combo of sophistication and power. Well, how about a new Cadillac XT6 or Escalade? Remember, cars and trucks are coming. Call or contact Richard Carr online with what you want and let them know to get you on their first-in-line priority list today and get your vehicle before anyone else. And if you're looking to save and drive today, Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks that all go through 172-point inspections. 100% credit approval is always the goal. And for those of you here in Central Texas, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, plus superior service after the sale. Richard Carr Motors. Take advantage of their great deals today, and for those cars not yet on the lot, make sure you contact them and get first in line on their priority list for when those vehicles do arrive. They are owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house?
We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sid was wide open downfield and a catch by Drew Estrada. Biggest play of the day for the Bears.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, this 5 o'clock hour, 5:13. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports on YouTube, and appreciate the chat room. It's like its own heartbeat. It just goes on, and we appreciate all of you back and forth. So much to get to. There was a question that I'll try to get to later in the show after our next guest, Joe Giuliano. He covers Penn State, Villanova basketball for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he joins us. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio. So were you at Butler Arena for Villanova and Baylor men's basketball in Indianapolis? Did you cover that tournament?
No, I didn't make the trip.
Okay,
we didn't travel to the NCAAs at all.
Yeah, I didn't. That was fun because that's just that game itself inside the Butler Fieldhouse was amazing. I know it was a big win for Baylor as well. Joe, this is a showdown that it's getting attention. There's a couple of others, but my goodness, how good is the Big Ten East right now?
It might be the best conference, best division of any conference in the country. When you have, 4 in the top 10, actually 4 in the top 9 and 5 in the top 11. Well, not counting Iowa, so it's 4, but still, that's a pretty loaded stack there. And Penn State gets to play all of them now. They've gotten Indiana out of the way, but they have to go to Ohio State and go to Michigan State, two of the ranked teams, and then Maryland, which got knocked silly by Iowa, is another team that gave Penn State trouble last year. So there's a lot of competition there, and Penn State's tiptoeing through this minefield one at a time.
Now, Penn State's offense has been pretty good at times, and it's not world-beating. Sean Clifford's been very consistent. Their defense has been great. Would you say that this would be, even with that Wisconsin defense as good as it was at the beginning, by far their biggest test when it comes to Sean Clifford?
Oh, no question. No question at all. The passing game has gone pretty well. Clifford's at his highest completion percentage in his career, so that's a sign that things are going well under the new offensive coordinator, Mike Yurcich. But their running game is still a work in progress. They rushed for 209 yards against Indiana. That was only the second time this year that they were over 100 yards for the game. So that really needs to improve, especially their short yardage situations like 3rd and 3 or less. They really haven't been very successful. So a defense like Iowa certainly is going to, have an advantage there unless Penn State can pick it up this Saturday. But yeah, the offense, they like to say they're up tempo, but they really aren't. They do go tempo a few times during the game, but it's just basically get to the line of scrimmage and look to the sideline and wait for the play and all that stuff. It's not a dynamic offense by any means, but it's averaging 30 a game and 420 something yards of total offense. So it's been good so far.
Joe, I kept an eye on John Lovett since he was here at Baylor and entered the transfer portal after playing with the Bears for 4 years. He ends up closer to home at Penn State, and then we don't see him the first couple games. I know there were some rumors about possibly a discipline issue or something along those lines. Is he starting to get more involved now, these last couple of weeks, John Lovett, in that run game?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's one of the three. James Franklin is going with 3 running backs mostly every game, and so it's Noah Cain, Kevon Lee, and John Lovett. And the thing that I think he likes about Lovett is that he's probably the team's best receiver out of the backfield, and that'll put him in good stead for what they like to do on offense. And he's a pretty powerful runner too. I'd never seen him play at Baylor, but he's been very good between the tackles. He's not afraid to hit and to bounce off guys and try to run them over. Very good. And he's a local guy for me, being in Philadelphia. He's from southern New Jersey and was recruited by Penn State before he decided to go to Baylor. So everything has come full circle. But, he's going to get some run as we get more into the season, I would think.
Joe Giuliano, the Philadelphia Inquirer, covers Penn State, Villanova basketball with us on 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. Last year was a dumpster fire, a cluster for some schools. It just did not work out. We know last year for Penn State, COVID, and just it was weird. Also was a disaster. How important was it for Franklin, although he's in pretty good shape, just to kind of bounce back the way they have this year?
Well, it's very important, but I think the key is, they really weren't together last year. The Big Ten decided they would play football, so everybody came back and worked out in groups as allowed by COVID, and then Big Ten said, no, we're not going to have any football, and everybody went home, and everything was on Zoom and FaceTime, but really none of the kids got to throw to each other or they worked out separately, not in groups. And then the Big Ten said, no, we'll decide to have football after all. And everybody came back. But it was just, Sean Clifford had a great line. Like 1 week before the first game against Indiana last year, that was the first time he had thrown to Parker Washington, the Texas freshman, who turned out to be a pretty good wide receiver and has had a really good year this year. But I found that very strange that, Clifford couldn't even throw to his receivers until it was almost the first game. So it was just a mess. Penn State started 0-5 but they stayed together. I mean, that's a testament to Franklin's powers of persuasion, to the fact that they came back with 4 straight wins after that 0-5 start. And it's still a losing season, but I think they went into the off season with a lot of optimism, and it went through spring and summer workouts and everything, and now they're right up there, and that's they are as close as any Penn State team I've seen in the 13 years I'm doing it.
Iowa, Penn State, number 3, number 4. You mentioned the East and the Big Ten. Iowa seems like they should, although you never know, coast in what they're doing with who they've already beaten this year. Is this one of those that either team can lose and still have hope for the college football playoff or not?
You would think so. That one loss wouldn't destroy them. Of course, Iowa, like you said, they're not playing Ohio State this year, so they they get off easy, but Penn State still has Ohio State 3 weeks after the Iowa game, and that's going to be a big one because it's at Columbus. But I think one loss still keeps you in the running, and Iowa has it's really got a good. They've had a good resume that they're building right now, especially with the defense and all, and the success they're having. Converting turnovers into good field position and points. So that's. I think Iowa's in better shape with a loss than Penn State is because there's just more opportunities for Penn State to lose games down the line, and that's going to be something to watch as we move forward.
Yeah, that's that deal with divisions. You can get on the wrong side of the crossover games. I've seen teams that, it just seems like it can happen. I mean, like with Michigan and Michigan State being better, and all of a sudden you have a crossover game with somebody else in the conference, or conference is pretty good. It can really kind of almost be impossible. But, Greg, anything else for Joe?
Yeah, Joe, I know it's kind of died down, but has it completely been stamped out, some of that James Franklin USC talk that emerged, when they first fired Clay Helton? I mean, that was a few weeks ago now at this point. Was he able to stamp that out pretty much immediately?
Well, here's the problem that we have is that, James Franklin has never said, no, I am not interested in the USC job. I'm planning to come back to Penn State next year. His contract is through 2025 anyway. But, if you would just say that, it would just kind of, make everything a lot easier for us trying to figure out what the real story is and for the fan base. But I don't know if his agent in other prospective job, like even the Texas A&M opening a few years back. I mean, the agent did a little sniffing around and on behalf of Franklin. So it's playing games, and I don't know if he wants to keep that up. But right now things are quiet because we've brought it up enough times where he's decided that he doesn't really want to talk about it anymore. So we'll see how it goes as we move forward. But I honestly don't think he's going to take it. But I just wish he would say, "Hey, I'm not going to take it."
Right. Would you maybe you could just put some pictures on like a slideshow of Happy Valley and ask him which one he likes better, and then sneak one of Southern California in there. And if he picks that one, you're like, "Well, why did you do that?" And then they could open it up again.
Yeah, the problem is you got to do a whole slideshow.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not good at it. So.
Just don't put a picture of the Song Girls. Is that what they call them at USC? Yeah, that would not be fair to him at all. Hey, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. You didn't get to cover that game, Villanova-Baylor. It was a great game. Villanova looked like, I thought at halftime, kind of was in control. Were you, if you look back at that, stunned at how they broke down in the second half against Baylor's defense?
Yeah, frankly, yes. I covered the game off of TV, and then we had a Zoom call with the coaches afterward. But I was really surprised how easily they fell apart. But to Baylor's credit, I mean they just went to the hole relentlessly in the second half, and Villanova really didn't have any answers for him. I mean, when Davian Mitchell decides he wants to get to the basket, who's going to stop him? That was the real story of the game, I thought. And Penn State, sorry. Basketball. Villanova couldn't hit a three in the second half. In fact, they had played Butler in the regular season that year and went 2 for 27 from three at Hinkle. So that's the house of horrors for Villanova for last season, and hopefully for their sake it won't happen again this year when they visit Butler.
Yeah, I love Jay Wright and what he does He's a good one, no question. A great one. Joe, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Take
Joe
care.
Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer, covers Penn State football, Villanova basketball. That's a pretty good combination to be able to follow, and so we appreciate his time.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting when James Franklin, as part of the Alliance, has his visit to Happy Valley as head coach of USC once they get those crossover games. Because, with the Alliance and their scheduling, if he were to move, you got to put that, that's the first priority is scheduling that game in Happy Valley is him. But, I mean, who knows what he ends up doing. He's got a good situation there, obviously. But there are certain coaches that rumors just follow no matter what. And so it leads you to believe, either they are just the most talked about person for no reason at all, or there's a reason why there's always rumors about that person. And so for James Franklin at this point, I don't know enough to know for sure, but I sure feel like just the number of times he gets mentioned, especially with USC, that there's something there. And, you can't rule out the possibility that maybe he would look elsewhere.
Yeah, I do think, although I think that for bargaining purposes between his agents probably telling him, don't say you're absolutely staying at Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't say that. Please don't. At least not to the press. Go into the team and be like, hey, guys, here's how this stuff works. But don't ever lie to them either. It's a slippery slope with coaching. And, none of us, I say none of us, not many of us have the opportunity to go to a job where you would immediately be competing directly in such a high-stakes world with the people you're leaving. I know that there's chances, but not where everybody would notice.
Not play. USC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But as far as they may not play, but your recruits and all this stuff, and you leaving makes it you have to hire a new coach, and everybody thinks that only one coach can be good for there's all this panic that goes with it. But everybody changes jobs throughout their lives. It's no different for coaches. It's just there's a more noticeable impact when they do leave. So people don't really put the logic of it's just a guy taking a different job because he got offered a different job. He wants to try it.
Yeah, it's hard, I think, if there are how many jobs in America, college football jobs, would somebody leave for another job?
And Penn State's one that most people wouldn't, but
that's a dog now, and I know.
But
how many? Answer my question. 5.
I mean, how many
college jobs in college football in America would somebody leave to go to another college job if things are going well?
Well, I mean, that's hard to say because, you have to have a base level. Are we talking Billy Napier, Louisiana? Because that would be like 100 schools he might leave for.
No, that's absolutely answering
so
my question.
So are you talking about like a James Franklin? Yeah, there's probably it's the
Alabama.
same.
You're going to leave Alabama to go somewhere else? Yeah.
It's the same schools we bring up for everything. It's Alabama, it's Ohio State, it's Texas, it's blah, blah, blah. Same
Florida?
5-6 schools. Yeah.
Yeah, because Florida maybe not lately because their facilities fell behind, but they're fixing that. But with USC and Penn State, they're on the same level, so that's why USC probably thinks they can go get a guy from that level.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's got to, there's rumors often enough that there's got to be some connection somewhere, like even if it's an agent connection, that he has constantly brought up with that job the last few years when it's been mentioned. But anyways, he's got a good thing going right now. And should be a hell of a game. If Penn State can't run the football effectively against Iowa, then you're gonna have to rely on Jahan Dotson to basically, along with Sean Clifford, carry you. And I don't know if that's the recipe for success. They're gonna have to be far more than one-dimensional. They're gonna have to find a way to run the football. But it's good to see. I don't know what happened with John Lovett early on in the year. He would have been brilliant in this Baylor offense this year, but glad to see he's at least getting some burn out there the last couple of games.
We were wondering.
Yeah, I was like, why is he not playing as a super senior, transfer? But looks like he's gotten acclimated.
By the way, on the chat room, Jay Bird, pro player, this is about Urban Meyer. Craig had that. We've talked about it a little bit. Pro player men don't like their privileged coach not traveling with the team so he can go out and do whatever he was doing.
Yeah.
He wanted to here's my opinion. He's in that area. He's beloved in Columbus. He's beloved in Ohio, correct?
Yep.
In that area, he's beloved. Always will be because he won a national title. And so he's down, and so he wanted to be appreciated by some people. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it went the wrong direction. He's now in the headlines. But, yeah, those players are – wait a minute. If I would have asked to stay home, if a kid went to Ohio State, if I could stay back – you don't do that in pro football unless there's some sort of medical emergency.
You have to, because you just said he needed to wind down or what. Well, so do the players.
No,
they're the ones out there playing. They're the ones that are 0-4.
And then to say he was going to do that to spend time with the grandkids, and then all of a sudden he's not even the one spending the time with the grandkids.
Well, if that was his grandchild, then we got bigger problems than what was going on.
You know what I mean?
Initially, but no, Urban's also come out in the last 30 minutes or so and said it's up to the team leaders to get everyone back on the same track. Quote, the ownership of this team is with the players. So that was Urban Meyer apparently sometime today. Yet everybody's pointing at you, buddy. You're the head coach. The ownership needs to start with you, but he's in the midst of all this saying the ownership of the team is with the players. There's no way he's there for another year or so. I just can't imagine that.
I think maybe you see how it goes in the next weeks because whoever you bring in, elevate on the staff is not going to make this team go from 0-4 to the playoffs. It's going to navigate it. The Jaguars are in an interesting situation though because they had the top pick in the draft. They have Trevor Lawrence. You don't want to mess that up with Trevor Lawrence. Like, you've got one of the most highly touted quarterbacks in years coming out, even over other number one quarterbacks. Nobody's had the kind of hype that Trevor Lawrence had from the time he committed to Clemson through his entire college career. He's kind of like the next Peyton Manning in that regard.
Yeah, there's parts. Yeah, that's a little bit high.
And you want him to, yeah. But as far as the way that
everyone's always overhyped. But he was the perfect type quarterback.
If you want him to be close to the next Peyton Manning, you've got to get the coach right.
Yeah. Here's from Matthew Nichols, a completely different topic, and maybe we didn't. Y'all haven't given Texas Tech enough credit for the win. They had injured quarterback, all-conference center, leading rusher, leading receiver, 3/4 of the starting secondary out. West Virginia's also good. Love the show. You might be right. We may not have, when we said best wins, and I don't know if we put Texas Tech in that category.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about it that way because they blew a 17-0 lead. But, no, I mean, as far as good wins and wins that were needed, yeah, Texas Tech absolutely had to have that. If they had blown that game, then Matt Wells might not be the head coach right now, honestly. I mean, if they had lost a 17-0 lead against West Virginia, yeah, I think that maybe we would have heard some type of an announcement, or it would just be the inevitable drawing closer. But, yeah, that was a good win. I mean, they were able to stave off the comeback and able to close it out. That was a bad loss for West Virginia, obviously, starting a game off like that and putting yourself in such a hole. But, kudos to the Red Raiders. Yeah, I wonder how – they're going to be able to keep it up without Tyler Shuck. If Columby's a guy that can – we saw him last year. I mean, he's done it before, so it's not like he's inexperienced or anything. But, yeah, there are some health issues going on that you just hope don't derail them entirely. But, yeah, definitely a good win for Texas Tech.
When we come back, we continue at 5:32. We have heard today from Saudi Arabia and Iceland. And so we want to hear from you as well, whether you're – in the middle of Texas or somewhere in the middle of the country, whatever coast you're on, border to border. Sikkim 365 radio number 254-339-1122. Back in a moment. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. Ashley, Carol, and Cheyenne. They run it. They do a great job. I was there the other day. They have a 48-foot walk-in humidor, and Ashley was showing me some of the new cigars that they have as well. And I was asking her, I said, do you still have the Asian Room Cuatro Nicaragua, which was the number one ranked cigar in I think it was 2019 or 2020, in fact, maybe both years as well. But one of the things that they have is they have CBD products, including Vita Dreams, that allows you to fall asleep a little bit easier, maybe even faster, to help save you some sleep. What is worse than wanting to fall asleep and you get to a point where you're falling asleep and you can't? You get to a point where you're tossing and turning. You look up 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Vita Dreams can help perhaps save that by getting you to sleep faster and getting away from that constant, you got to get up so quickly. A lot of things to do when you're not getting enough sleep. You're not doing it well. They also have Delta THC products. New cigars, Alec Bradley, the Gatekeeper, number 7. The Punch Knuckle Buster is one of their new and popular cigars. And a Leather Rose Petite Corona inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and Best in Metal, Steel, and Pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we go. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, NFL, covers it like a blanket. And yes, we will discuss his disappointment with Baylor's loss in Stillwater as well. John, is Urban Meyer going to survive this?
David, I don't know how he can. If you think about a head coach, he's supposed to preach accountability to his players. He's supposed to make them accountable to each other. He talks to them about discipline. Every day he talks to them about that. And when he has so much immaturity and stupidity, how can he get his players to buy into what he's talking about when he did something so foolish? I had never seen anything like it. And I think if he were 2-2 and showing more progress, but I don't know how he's going to survive this. I don't know how the players will react to him now. Does he lose them? Did he ever have them? I'll say this, Trevor Lawrence deserves better.
John, when it comes to, I saw a series of tweets from Mike Silver today that say he talked to a player and then Urban Meyer kind of tried to pass it off as some random person. We've been talking about it during the show today. Professional athletes know how that game is played. And I think he maybe thinks he's still in college a little bit when he makes excuses like that.
Well, really and truthfully, that's not even an excuse for college. I mean, it's showing unbelievable stupidity, especially in this day and age when you go out in public and you're famous, everybody's got a cell phone and do something that moronic. But the person you have to answer to the most is his wife. She was taking care of the grandkids. And while he's out getting twerked by some girl at a I don't know, club or wherever they were.
So, John, I mean, the Jaguars as an organization are an absolute mess. They've had, some relative success here and there. What would you do if you were Shad Khan, as far as, how would you start to actually make this a legitimate organization once again? Because the Urban Meyer thing we know is going to peter out. They've had head coach after head coach. What would you do?
First of all, in 2017, when they won the division and came within one game of going to the Super Bowl, had the Patriots down in the fourth quarter at Gillette Stadium when Brady brought them back. Everybody thought, okay, they have turned the corner. And then because they wouldn't pay their players, they bolted, they wanted out, they didn't like the organization. And so he was not able to keep it together. And he thought he'd solved his issues with Urban Meyer. He gave him the keys to the kingdom. He has control of everything, down to the paper clips and the pencils and the pens. And our money, millions and millions and millions of dollars is nothing to a billionaire. But I'll guarantee you, Shad Khan, who was pretty critical in that statement today, he has got to be infuriated because it's a reflection of him, that he's hired a coach who hired an offensive line coach who had to be fired immediately because his transgressions came to light, even though everybody knew him. Then he was fined 2 times in the off-season program for breaking NFL rules for off-season workouts. And now this, it's just been one problem after another. And I don't know how you get your players to buy what you're selling when you don't have their respect. Players don't have to like a head coach. I guarantee you, Patriots don't like Bill Belichick. He won't let them get to know him well enough to like him, but they respect him. And I'm guessing right now they don't respect Urban Meyer unless they played for him at Ohio State.
John, elsewhere last night, heck of a football game, especially if you're a Chargers fan, 28-14 over the Raiders in L.A., and quite the scene in that crowd, huh? I mean, you might have thought that game was being played in Oakland, Las Vegas, but I guess the Raiders just have homes everywhere.
That goes back to even when the Raiders were in Oakland, they had a lot of fans in L.A., especially gang members. I remember when they moved to L.A., they had a parking lot at the Coliseum where the gangs called a moratorium on their fighting on Sundays so they could go tailgate. And so you did not want to walk through that tailgate wearing the colors of another team. So it would have been the smart thing to do, would have been to have the Raiders move back to L.A. and share the stadium with the Rams and had the Chargers move to Las Vegas because they've got built-in fans in L.A. and they'll go anywhere. Half of the crowd in Vegas is going to be from L.A., and you saw it last night, and everybody knew that was going to be the case. The Chargers have been visitors ever since they left San Diego, no matter where they've played. But they showed a lot of moxie. Justin Herbert, my God, don't you know, every day the Dolphins are like, what did we do taking Tua over Justin Herbert?
Yep. Yeah, he's a stud, and the Cowboys beat him, and that was a game that went down to the wire. And geez, I love watching him play. I mean, who does he remind you of anyone maybe in the past?
Well, he's big, he's 6'6", and he runs like Cam Newton. Cam Newton's almost 6'6", 265. Herbert's not that tall, but he's a good runner. He's tough and he's smart. If you go back to Hard Knocks last year, when the Rams and the Chargers were on there, and the Chargers, Tyrod Taylor was the starter, which the coach, Anthony Lynn, emphasized every day. And most of the attention on Hard Knocks that Justin Herbert got was about his man bun. And his teammates gave him all kinds of grief about it. And then the real hero here is the doctor who gave Tyrod Taylor the pain-killing injection into his ribs, went too far, punctured his lung, and Justin Herbert had to play. If that guy hadn't punctured his lungs and Tyrod Taylor had stayed healthy, how long would it have been until he got Justin Herbert out there? And, if you go back and look at the scouting reports, he wasn't guaranteed a surefire thing. There were a lot of people that took shots at him. Oh, his personality, he's not a leader. He's too laid back. And a guy that I listen to the most, Jimmy Stanton, whose Uncle Tom's one of the greatest administrators in Baylor history, not to mention basketball and baseball player. Jimmy works at Oregon, and he's worked for the Titans. He's worked for the Astros, and he and I are good friends. And he told me when Justin Herbert was a sophomore how good he was and how good he's going to be. And when he was a junior, everybody thought he was coming out. Jimmy said, nope, he's not coming out. His brother's coming here, and they want to play a season together. And by staying in college, that helped him. Think of all these quarterbacks, if they spent an extra year in college and got the experience, how much it might help them make that transition. But Justin Herbert is a stud. Guys, when you look around, the changing of the guard with young quarterbacks like him and Mahomes and Josh Allen and Kyler Murray coming in for Brady and Breeze and Roethlisberger and those guys, it is a privilege to watch those kids throw the football in the NFL.
John, you mentioned Ben Roethlisberger. If the Steelers could get in the Wayback Machine to March, when they were renegotiating Ben Roethlisberger's deal for this year, do you think they would have maybe renegotiated him into retirement and gotten into maybe drafting a quarterback of the future?
Well, if they had, they'd be 0-4. They wouldn't have gone to Buffalo and won the first game. They need to worry about getting a quarterback now. They might as well be really bad. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. But instead of blaming Big Ben, I don't care who the quarterback is. If you can't run the ball, you're in trouble. They were last in rushing last year. They're last in rushing this year. And until they can run the ball to take some pressure off him and keep defenses from just teeing off on him on every play, he's going to get obliterated, and they're going to keep losing. And maybe that's the idea. What they should be doing is calling Nick Caserio and say, okay, Nick, we haven't checked with you on this, but what are you asking for Watson 3 1s, 2 2s? Let us get back to you.
John, I know there's probably not much to say about last week, but what is the mood around the Texans? Got the Patriots coming up, who are off a loss against Tom Brady and the Bucs. Worst loss in franchise history. What's the pulse in Houston?
Well, everybody's fired up about the Astros. The Astros play the White Sox. They have home field advantage. People are pumped. See if they can go to the World Series again. The Texans, people, this is what we expected them to be terrible. They got people's hopes up with that performance against Jacksonville. Looked good against Cleveland. Could have beaten Carolina, but they're playing a rookie quarterback who's not ready to play. They didn't want to play him this early. But Tyrod Taylor, when he comes off IR in a couple of weeks, they got to decide, do we want to try to win some games, stick with Mills, see if he makes any progress, lose, get a high pick, try to get a quarterback next year. And after I saw Cincinnati beat Notre Dame, I think I tweeted during the game, the Texans aren't quitters. They're just tanking for Ritter.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. John, I mentioned the Cowboys in their win against the Chargers. They do, and I know that it's so easy to fall for them. They are a flirt, but they do appear to have some legitimacy with what they're doing this year. And they're able to make some plays defensively with some guys out, including in the past, if DeMarcus Lawrence had gone out, they'd just shut it down. What's changed? Obviously Dan Quinn, but what else is changing with them in your opinion?
Well, Dak Prescott's healthy. They were tearing it up yardage-wise when he was healthy last year, but the defense was going to be terrible with Mike Nolan. They're taking the ball away. That's what's the most impressive thing they're doing that they hadn't been. And the defense is not great, but it's good. And they're going to run away with that division. I've been saying that since before the season. And the key will be, can they win a home game like they did with Seattle 2 years ago, or could they possibly get home field advantage? Is there a great team in the NFC right now? Who is clearly better than the Cowboys? Maybe Arizona. Arizona just beat the Rams a week ago. We'd anointed the Rams. The Bucs barely beat a rookie quarterback. Green Bay's won 3 in a row, but I'll say this, why not the Cowboys?
Yeah, they really have just something. There's a look to them. Thanks for your time, John. We appreciate it. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer. Houston Chronicle.
Oh, I hit it.
You got a little bit of a
happy trigger. Yeah, I'm looking. I'm not with it. I always get sad on what is potentially the last day of the Red Sox season. It's never a good day for me, unless it's the World Series.
Shut up. Well, Rangers lost 100-plus games. Do you know that they've been in existence since like 1972, right?
Yes.
Their 4 worst seasons ever were their first 2 and the last 2.
Well, it's synergy. Means
and
there's
you're
a
over
renaissance
here whining about a hell of a team that had to race down the stretch to hold off the Blue Jays and the Mariners, and you're worried about a playoff game.
I'll use the excuse that
Yankees.
That billionaires use to say they shouldn't pay their employees more money. Look, I'm used to this kind of lifestyle. You guys aren't, so you wouldn't be able to handle it.
You weren't last year.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I am.
Yeah. The Yankees tonight in the American League playoff, and the Dodgers and the Cardinals in the National League wild card game. So the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals playing tonight in Major League Baseball.
The Dodgers and Cardinals play tomorrow, but yeah.
Well, okay, the next 24 hours. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5, Sick'em 365 Radio.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McClain County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
It has hundreds of thousands.
Well, it's personal service.
Okay.
It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McClain County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McClain County agent.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Champion Salon and Barber. I'm about due for a trip to Champion Salon and Barber. So I need to go and make my appointment on their website. You can go either Woodway or downtown here in Waco. Fantastic stuff that they do there. I always get the Champion, which is a hair and they shape my beard and trim it. It's great stuff. Or if you don't have a beard or you had one, you will get rid of it. Straight razor shave is absolutely fantastic there. I, in my pre-beard days, did that quite a bit and always loved it. Top 5 college football predictions. These are things I'm predicting that will come to pass by the end of the year. So you in the comment section can bring this up if I get any of them wrong and rag me if you want to.
You're a clicks and views guy on this thing, so I'm sure you're going to get some.
Yeah. Number 5, there will be no undefeated teams at the end of the season. 0. None. Alabama and Georgia will split. That's my prediction.
Okay.
No undefeated teams.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess
Jeff
your
Graham,
opinion.
yeah.
But I definitely, I mean, yeah, it's possible. I don't know, though. I don't know if I would be willing to say that as well.
Which is bad news for Cincinnati.
Yeah, that would be bad news
Cincinnati.
for Cincinnati. Yes.
I just don't.
We're
have
always at that time of the year when we sit there. Yeah, but what if everyone runs? No one will.
The Big Ten's
one or two, and they'll play each other.
The Big Ten's going to take care of itself, and I would think that Iowa has the best shot at that, just based on their schedule compared to like Penn State's, who's got.
So Cincinnati's loss, though, in your opinion, would be in the semifinals or in an elite bowl game if they're not allowed inside the gate.
I'm hoping it's in the semifinals or in a bowl game.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
But number 4,
Beer Smoker 4444. Since he's going to lose in a shootout with SMU. All right.
Yeah, I'm hoping SMU can stay unbeaten until then. I'm hoping Cincy can stay unbeaten until then. I think that'd be one
awesome.
hell of a game. Yeah, if they can do that.
Number 4, LSU will be looking for a new coach. Ed Orgeron came out today and said, "Listen, this is all my fault and what's going on." And it's not trending in a good direction for Edo right now.
No, and we brought this up yesterday, and we brought this up about even Briles, but you wonder how much now they have fodder, not just with wins and losses or whatever, just a year or two away from a national title, but can they now lean on this investigation or some of the accusations that he knew some of the stuff going on, not just Les Miles?
Yeah, see, I haven't followed the investigation, nor has there really been much information about it to think that has anything to do with him getting fired. I think it's just a convenient way to fire him because that's what they would want to do anyways.
Yeah,
I think it would just be, here's more reasons why, even though really we don't need any reason other than we just think we need to make a change. But that could definitely be used as like support for their decision and taken that way. But yeah, it just seems like it's kind of running out of time, doesn't it?
And the talent that he's lost over the last couple of years, it's hard to just, I
mean, they had the most magical run you could possibly have 2 years ago. I mean, they did, and he'll forever be enshrined in LSU greatness because of that. If that's all he ends up doing when all's said and done, I mean, and then by all I mean just an undefeated national championship season where you just broke records left and right. I mean, that would be okay, but yeah, it does seem like the time's kind of ticking down on Edo and LSU.
Yeah. Number 3, Luke Fickell stays in Cincy.
Okay.
I think he stays.
All right.
That's my prediction.
Well, I hope so for Cincinnati fans, for even maybe Luke Fickell, although he's got opportunities, I'm sure, even now. But because of the Big 12 setup, I hope he's still the coach when they join the Big 12 in 2023 or 4.
Yeah, this is actually the one I feel like I'm most likely to be wrong about, actually. But,
yeah. I don't know where. I know people have brought up USC before now, and there's been others here and there. But, yeah, I would hope he stays. His wife's comments are just that. She didn't outright say, like, no, I want to be in Cincinnati, but she kind of alluded to that. And, hey, hopefully she does want to stick around for a few more years because I would love to see his brand of football in the Big 12.
Number 2, Urban Meyer will not be a college football coach next year.
I mean, this one I actually feel very strongly about. Yeah, no.
Will he be a coach next year?
I don't think so. But, I mean, he's not coming to college football. And, a lot of people say USC. USC could have hired him 2 years ago. They could have fired Clay Helton when he was available 2 years ago and brought him in.
Yeah, I
fired Clay Helton before he took the Jaguars job and got him.
Yeah, I just don't know that he's worth the risk at this point. And look, there's going to be some time needed after this to let it blow over a little bit. I mean, he's certainly not getting hired anytime soon. He still has a job. He's still the head coach of the Jaguars, but he may still be that next year, but I definitely don't think he'll be a college coach. And you see the young lady's face blurred out there. I think that's whose name we've learned. And it very much sounds like, just to add to this story, it very much sounds like a made-up porno name. It really does. Her real name. It does. Cayman, Nebraska?
Yeah.
Cayman, Nebraska. Does that sound like a real name to you?
Beautiful. Cayman's where you go to vacation. Nebraska is where my hometown originally is from.
Hey, Cayman, you're watching this. Hey, what's up? It's all good, but we're not judging. But, yeah, that's a wild name, in my opinion, I guess. Maybe Cayman, Nebraska is normal everywhere else. I don't know.
I don't know many people with a state is that, like, I don't know a guy named Greg, Florida.
Yeah.
What names?
I mean, Joe Montana, I know that.
It would actually be more like, Bahama, Washington. It would be Cayman, Nebraska.
Name 5. Okay, and people have named after the Dakotas, right?
Yeah.
You rarely hear about somebody's name is Ohio.
Yeah.
Or California. Or Nebraska.
Or like 48 of the 50 states. Yeah.
I wonder how many states have had names of people named.
Do you know
after
a guy like
Dakota?
I'm sure all.
There's 2.
Mississippi Jenkins. I mean, you don't. I mean, it's it's weird.
I mean, it's her last name though, so maybe she didn't choose it, but it sure sounds like she did.
You can't with the 2, like New Jersey and New Mexico are out, right? Because.
But anyways, it's 6 o'clock, and I don't think he's going to be a college football coach next year either.
And number 1, there'll be no Big 12, ACC, or Pac-12 teams in the playoff.
Yeah, definitely not on the ACC. Definitely not on the Pac-12. Well, man, I mean, shoot, there's got to be somebody though, Paul. Like, is it 2 SEC teams and
2 Big Ten,
2 Big Tens,
2 Big Tens, or 2 SEC, Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah,
the Big Ten champion.
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that would be wild, though, if 3 of the 5 were left out.
That scenario is interesting. But yeah.
There would be some hell to pay for. But, I mean, then again, there's not really an argument against those being the selections right now.
But the Big 12 is still their heads above water.
Yeah.
The ACC they're drowning, and the Pac-12 is there also with them not knowing how to swim. So.
Yeah, and I want chaos.
Whoever wins this weekend, Oklahoma, Texas, is still very much in the mix. If Texas wins, then Oklahoma, depending on the style of it, would probably still be in the mix with that being their first loss. Although some might be wanting to, go ahead and downgrade them a bit more because they have been so shaky and would finally have just lost because of
Does beating Oklahoma eliminate losing to Arkansas?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
probably
absolutely.
does. Probably does. From the 208, don't forget about Hannah, Montana.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, Hannah, Montana. There we go.
That's funny. That's right in line with the same type of name. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well,
all right.
Rough day for
Paul,
her.
Some people are agreeing with 2 or 3 or 4 or disagreeing with whatever else. It's always a great thing at the end, and then gets hundreds of millions of views of clicks and all others. And then at some point you go back to YouTube and there's 444 people mad at you about something.
Don't care.
And I'll give you a cell phone number tomorrow. Thanks to Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak. Thanks to all of you. Chat room. Some of you are asking about the chat room. It's on our YouTube channel, 365 Sports. Hayden, thank you, sir. Jack, Armstrong Sims as well. I'm about to record the high school podcast for the week. Longview and Melissa High School will be featured this week. Melissa just shut out Argyle. For those of you in other states, you may not even understand what that means. I'm David Smoak. Good night. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and thank God for our sponsors as well.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.